Hello, my absolutely beautiful astrology soulmates. It's me, Stormie Grace, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for May of 2025, where the big news happening this month is that Saturn is moving into Aries, bringing us on a ride for 2.5 years worth of making new long-term commitments, coming to the next level of maturity. I mean, it's really very big news. And even though Saturn is moving into Aries this month, we're also going to be looking forward to July, where Saturn and Neptune come together and start to tell a whole other story. But whatever the story is, as we're traveling here in May, in Aries season, in Aries energy, we brought things to the surface, we initiated. And in Taurus season, we start to take those initiations and we make them solid. We give them long-term plans. We have the deep planning and revelation around them. And then we're going to roll into Gemini season, bringing a little bit more lightness. And now we're going to start to share those plans, share those designs, share those stories, and share our voices. So I can't wait to jump in and see what the month has to offer for you. The timestamps for all 12 signs are in the description box down below. So make sure you click down there and check it out. And also, while you're in that description box down below, if you are ready to speak the language of astrology, you want to talk about transits like we're doing, you want to understand your child and their chart, you want to understand your partner and their chart, you want to know your own journey better, come and join me in GAFA, my astrology school, where we learn to speak, read, and write the language of astrology. I would love to have you. Classes are open in the description box down below. And if you are coming back to those hips, coming back to that soft that we've been working on around here, you're stepping back, you're saying, no, I'm not going to push so hard. I want to create, I want to be easy, but I'm blocking my abundance. What's blocking this abundance? Jump into my Venus Reset program. 22 beautiful days of us traveling together. Oh, jump in. It is for you in the description box down below. All right, now we're not just going to focus on the astrology of what's going on for each of the particular signs. We also want to see what is going on globally. So let's take a minute and take a pause and see what's happening in the mundane world of astrology with our friend Dan Waits with the Mundane Minute.
And everyone out there, this is Dan from World Astrology Report, and I'm here with a Mundane Minute for May of 2025. The headline development for May will be Saturn changing signs. It's moving from the last sign of the zodiac, Pisces, to the first, Aries, on May the 25th. Saturn spends an average of 2.5 years in each sign, so it's a pretty big deal when it changes sign. In traditional astrology, Saturn was the slowest of the planets and the closest to the divine realm. It patrolled the limits of the known cosmos. And so the word limits is really powerful if you're trying to understand Saturn, because Saturn shows us the limits of the domain it's working on, the highs and the lows. It can deny us things completely or give us so much of something that it feels like a burden or that we're weighed down by the pressure of it. Over the past 2 years, Saturn has been in Pisces, the sign of universal flow. It's a kind of mystical realm in which there are no boundaries. And in that time, we've seen a lot of restrictions to the flow of people, goods, and services around the world. The theme of migration has become a really hot topic. We've seen new laws and measures designed to both protect it and reduce it. And the Trump tariffs are a really good example of this phenomenon too. We've seen new rules that will put limits on global trade. But now Saturn is moving into Aries. And so we're going to see fresh trends related to Aries themes, like pioneering, adventure, self-discovery, identity, self-expression, and conflict. But what could that look like in the world? Well, we can expect that the theme of identity is going to become really important. Saturn is the planet of structure, and with Saturn in Aries, we might see new measures and structures related to the theme of identity. Think digital ID schemes, which a lot of countries are looking to introduce right now. And I could see there being a lot more nationalism. There could be much more pressure on the idea of national identity and the question of who belongs. And Aries is the sign of Mars, the planet we associate with war. And I think Saturn in Aries is going to bring that theme to the fore. We might see measures like conscription and new laws and rules relating to war in some parts of the world. But Saturn also denies and opposes things. Saturn was in Aries from 1967 to 1969, a time when there were a lot of protests against the war in Vietnam. So expect more protests against war and strong feelings both for and against conflict. That's it for now. Catch me on World Astrology Report for in-depth forecasts and videos on themes in mundane astrology. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe and have a great month.
Beautiful Aries friends, and welcome to your horoscope for May of 2025. And wow, what a powerful month for you, because it's the kind of month that shifts who you are and shifts your path, but it does it in real time. You actually get to see it. It's really neat. Now, we've got Neptune, who's recently moved into your sign, but this month we've also got Saturn moving into your sign for the first time in 30 years. So this is a massive reset. And don't worry, Aries, there's going to be a separate video all about Saturn moving into Aries so you can really get the deliciousness. But also this month we've got a full moon that wants to help you let go of some emotional baggage, but for good. Like not a little chipping away. This is for good. And a new moon that is going to be all about owning your voice and rewriting the story. So everything this month, as I was looking at it for you, to me feels like it's calling out your mature fire. That's what I'm calling it. You become more intentional. You become more self-aware. And the biggest thing with that Saturn is you become willing to commit to responsibilities and a version of yourself that's been trying to emerge for a while now, but it just couldn't do it just yet. So this is not the month where you are dimming your light. Instead, you are focusing that thing like a laser. It's a different level. There's a lot more power. So let's jump in and talk about what the energies have to offer for you in the general. Now, remember, the best astrology is your astrology. So you want to grab your personal chart and look at this so that you can understand your astrology. But right here at the beginning of the month, we've got Pluto on May 4th going retrograde in the vibration of Aries. So as the month begins with this energy, it's turning retrograde in that 11th house for you, which is the house of friends, community, organization, greater goals that you have for yourself. Of course, social media, because that's a social space, but the idea of the greater collective as well. So Aries, this is where you are likely to start to feel this really subtle pull to not necessarily go outward, but you're going inward, especially around your group spaces, your online platforms, a long-term ambition or goal that you have for yourself. And it's like, I have this vision that maybe you've been trying to work on something and you have a message, whether it's online for a business or it's just something that you want to say, you want to share it in a group, and you're trying to scale this message. You're trying to build some momentum to take leadership or take your leadership to the next level. But now, instead of pushing it forward, it's like Pluto is looking at you going, okay, but why? Why? Why do you want to do that? We need clarity around why you want to do that, because this isn't a transit, I think, that is about giving up on your vision. It's about clearing out if there are weird power dynamics that are going there because they don't belong. Are you leading wherever you're leading, whether it's in your own personal life, in online, in a group? Aries, are you leading from fear or are you leading from love? Are the things that you are wanting and you're pushing for, are they authentic, or are they wrapped in this idea of what you think other people want from you, or what will other people think of me if I don't do this, right? It can be wrapped in some really interesting things when we get down into the muck of what Pluto has to offer for us. So if you feel called to take a step back from social media, you're taking a step back from groups or even friendships because you feel like in some way it's become icky and transactional, that's okay. Pluto retrograde is like a cosmic permission slip to just go inward, chill out, realign with the future self that you want to engage with. The version of you that's not just popular, but it's really powerful and it's really purposeful. When we get to May 10th, we're going to see that Mercury enters into Taurus. So now Mercury, our planet of communication, it's going to light up your second house of income, value, resources come into this space. Absolutely. The way that you make money and what you're doing with your money. So likely you're going to find yourself thinking more seriously about money this month, about how you earn it, how you manage it, whether what you do with it actually feels valuable to you. That's a very Taurus, very Venusian question. Is this valuable? So it's a great time to get grounded in, what are your beliefs about your worth? Not just financially, but energetically as well. And I'm telling you, Aries, if you are not in the Venus Reset program, I offer that as an invitation for you to get in there. It's all about reconnecting with your Venus. What you value is what you're taking action on, and what you value is how you're putting yourself out there. So if you've been undercharging, overgiving, selling yourself short at work, this is a wake-up call. Mercury coming to Taurus is a wake-up call, right? Because it aligns the head and the heart. So what you could also find yourself doing is that you might find yourself shifting in your worth, and you're like, I do need to revise my pricing. I do need to update my resume, or I need to have an honest conversation with myself or maybe someone else about what it is that I'm really bringing to the table. Not what I think, but what I'm really bringing to the table. So this transit is going to be supportive of that. And for those of you out there who are teachers, or you want to learn about financial literacy or resource literacy, this is a great transit to do it. But the one thing you're going to need to remember, Aries, is that this energy here is slow. It's steady. It's more of that focused energy I was talking about at the beginning of the video. So try and resist your urge, Aries, to rush. Instead, think long term. What do you want your money and your resources to do for you? What kind of life are you really trying to build? That's what this transit can help you work through. Now, we've got the full moon coming up in Scorpio, and this is going to be happening on May 12th. Now, this is going to light up your 8th house space. So the full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We have to, first of all, celebrate whatever has been previously built here before, because you've seen something, you've built something, you've had an experience. You've called some things in, Aries, and now you've been able to actually bring them to reality, but some pieces of them don't need to stay with you anymore. So you have to decide here, at this 22 degrees of Scorpio, which things are still going to go forward with you. So in the 8th house, though, I think that this full moon in our end, acknowledge, or adjust, it's going to help you to, maybe it's going to ask you, because it's very much so based on choice right now. It's going to ask you to release some really deep emotional baggage, right? Some fears. If you've had some kind of shared resource, intimacy, entanglement, situationship that you've been really quietly holding back on, or you've been holding on to, this lunation is about letting it go, but it's also about trust. It's about actual intimacy and transformation. It digs beneath the surface to pull out anything that's been festering down there under the carpet is not actually to your good. So you may also be ending, for some of you, some kind of financial situation, or like a financial dependency, because this is a lot about debt when we deal in the 8th house, whether it's spiritual, physical, emotional, financial. And that debt can also look like a really toxic emotional tie. And that includes one to yourself. Is there an internal story that you've been working with? Like, I have to do it all alone. It's all on me. Don't be surprised if this moon brings that up and brings that vulnerability to the surface, because it's an invitation to see it for the truth that it is, that it's not true. Let go of that fear-based, control issue having mindset, and embrace a different kind of authentic connection with yourself. So, if you end up closing out a relationship with a partner, whether it be a business partner, alone, you are coming to the other side of healing some old wounds, whether they be sexual or emotional. You're getting that student loan taken care of, whatever it is. The full moon is actually here to be about liberation. All right, on the 20th, we see the sun move into Gemini. And as the sun moves into Gemini, it's going to light up your 3rd house space. It comes alive. Gemini energy is alive and lively. And suddenly, that is a word that belongs to Gemini. Suddenly, it's time to speak up. It's time to share. It's time to connect. And you're wanting to communicate. You're wanting to go on that short trip. You're wanting to write that book. You're wanting to teach. You're listening to that podcast. You want to create a podcast, right? My energy even speeds up when we talk about this Gemini energy. Whatever it is, your mind gets busier, that schedule is going to fill up, and there is this renewed urge to learn. I just want to talk about things. I want information. So if you honestly have been thinking about launching that YouTube channel, launching that podcast, taking a course, finishing a course you already bought, writing a book, a blog, a newsletter, talking to your siblings, signing a contract, this is your cue. Gemini season lights up your communication center and reminds you that you have word magic. Your voice is powerful, and it's not just in what you say, but like Miss Ursula from The Little Mermaid said, it's also going to be in your body language. Never underestimate the power of body language, okay? Now, on a true note here, with the sun moving into Gemini, for some of you, I think you find yourself having a lot more engagement with someone who feels like a sibling. Now, whether this is an actual sibling or a really close neighbor, maybe it's even like a really close cousin, right? There could be a lot more connection. You're doing an event there, and it's curious. There's a lot of conversation happening in that particular time. Whatever it is, as you get stimulated in this season, Aries, the one thing I want to remind you is to watch out for mental burnout. Okay, don't try to learn and teach everything at once. It's still pretty much a slow drip kind of energy. All right, on the 24th, big news, big moment in your life, Aries. Saturn is entering into Aries, and it's a game changer. Saturn moves into your sign, lighting up your first house. This only happens once every 29 years. So it's the beginning of a major maturity cycle for you. You know, with Saturn here in this first house, it's about identity. It's about discipline. It's about your personal authority and expertise. It's almost like, I feel like, it's time for you to grow into your next set of skin, but you choose to do so. You choose to do so, you know, and it can feel very Saturnian. You feel that weight of responsibility, and it shows up fast because it's Aries energy, right? Suddenly, you're being asked to take your goals really seriously, to move with intention. Stop relying on sheer instinct alone. This actually needs a plan. Saturn says, you are you, really. But are you willing to do the work to let that version of you live, like really come into its maturity? And it's not it can be doubtful. Saturn can bring doubt. You can feel like, I don't know, this feels too big. It feels too much, right? And I want to just say that Saturn isn't punishment. It's actually empowerment, because what Saturn wants to bring about is your next level of maturity so it lasts long term, right? You're being handed the tools to shape your legacy here, Aries. But it will take consistency. It will take discipline. It will take courage. And it will take, I think, an honest to God willingness to look in that mirror without flinching. Right? In real world terms, if you wanted to launch a business, if you want to commit to anything, it needs to have long-term benefit to you. And you need to know that you are going to lock in and work on that thing for a long time, day by day by day. But really, truly, just know the things that are coming along this way are about taking you to the next level, and it's got staying power. Okay, on the 25th, Mercury comes home into domicile, into Gemini. So again, speeding up your chart quite a bit. And Mercury is going to be joining the sun over here. So it is a power-packed energy over here. Your communication zone gets louder, as if that's possible, but in the best way, So this is a wonderful time for networking, creating content, studying, starting something new. If you've had messaging in any way, you know, maybe you needed to edit that blog, or you wanted to edit your business plan, something like that. This is a great kind of energy to be able to do that. And it's really because in Gemini season, this is the time of the year where you become more witty. You're curious, you're mentally agile, but you're a little bit more witty. And people like that, and it's fun. It's a bit more whimsical, right? Now, you just have to be mindful when Mercury comes into Gemini that your energy, your fire, you can be scattered. It is easy to be like, I want to be a sponge for all of this information. So I'm trying to put everything into action at the same time. You know, I'm trying to work on all of these different projects at the same time. And then you're just creating little grass fires around you, running your fiery energy all over. So just be mindful of that, okay? Now, for the other side, it is a powerful time if you are needing to promote something that you have been working on. That would be great. Come on out. This is the time to do that. Listen, if you're not already signed up for the YouTube Breakthrough Challenge that's happening in June, where I show you how to put your message out there, this would be a great time to do it. But plant your seeds and let people know that, you know, you had some things cooking. We're going to also see a little bit of support as we come to the new moon happening in Gemini just a day later here on the 26th. So as this new moon is coming, this is going to be happening at 6 degrees, excuse me. This is going to be happening at 6 degrees of Gemini. So as we see this new moon coming, we're planting our seeds of intention in this third house. So it's time to reset, right? Plant your seeds of intention around communication, self-expression, connections to your siblings, your mindset, your learning, that book that you're writing. If there's a story that you have been dying to tell, or it's been working its way up and out of you, do it. Do it. If there is a truth that you've been needing to say, this may be the time where you are building your seeds of intention to speak it, and to speak it in a way where it can be heard and received. If there's a project you've been wanting to launch, this new moon says, do it. It's the ideal energy for a fresh start. And there will be a separate new moon video on this as well. All right, my beautiful Aries, I think that May is a wonderful building pad. In April, we had the launching pad for a new version of you, but now we're in the state of a building pad. Saturn in your sign is all about you stepping into that real power, not in the loud, impulsive way that you're used to being able to use your fire, but it's the kind of power that's brick by brick by brick, your image, your voice, you build it with your hands, and you know that slowing down is sometimes just as powerful in building trust and building that transformation as moving really quickly. All right, my beautiful Aries friends, have an absolutely gorgeous month. I love you a ton, and I look forward to seeing you in June. My absolutely beautiful Taurus friends, and welcome to your horoscope for May of 2025. And happy birthday, Taurus. May is your season, or at least this month it starts that way, right? And this is the year that it's an opportunity for you at this time to reset your year, because this is your real invitation, right? When the sun comes back to Taurus, it's your real invitation to begin an evolution from year to year to year. So this particular May it's not just about cake and celebrations, although yes, please do that, because I'm a Taurus too, and I'm going to be doing that. This particular May is about owning your power, redefining your value. There's healing in ways that might not have been visible, but you're changed from the inside out. Now, with Pluto retrograding through your career zone this month, Mercury's in your sign for a time, and we're going to have a full moon that's happening in your relationship house. Taurus, you're being called this month to reevaluate what and who. This is a who question. Truly supports you in the future that you want to have for yourself. So by the time we get to Saturn also moving into your 12th house this month, I get emotional saying this for you, because I feel like it's the universe handing you a key to kind of your own spiritual basement and saying to you, Taurus, come on, let's clean house and let's make room for the life that you were really meant to live. I feel that for you. Okay, so let's get into it, because May is deep and it's working directly on your sense of identity, your money, your purpose. So we need to get in here and see what it's about. All right, on May 4th, we've got Pluto going retrograde in Aquarius, and this will light up your 10th house space. So kicking off our month with the retrograde here in the space of your career, your public image, your reputation, your life legacy. And I also like to include the name that we call you in public. Do we call you mother? Do we call you grandmother? Do we call you office manager? What do we call you in public? Because whatever it is, it's shifting and it's powerful stuff. So if you start feeling, Taurus, this like subtle pull beneath the surface of your work life or underneath something that is a status for you, especially if you've been striving to climb, get better, do more, and it no longer aligns with who you really can find yourself becoming, this is a Pluto moment. And it's a little bit painful, right? Because it makes us afraid. We're like, but if I let that go, what's going to happen to me? But Pluto retrograde isn't here to burn your career to the ground, but it will help you see where you've given your power away, or where you're operating out of fear rather than authenticity. Maybe you've been performing a version of success that doesn't feel sustainable anymore. And that's okay. We're allowed to move on. Maybe you're feeling the pressure to show up as a leader in a certain space, but without the same hunger that you were doing it with before. You're like, I don't know. So this is a good time during the Pluto retrograde to reassess your long-term goals. Make this reconnection retrograde with the deeper why behind your ambitions. And truly, if you have felt unseen, under-acknowledged, this is going to be a retrograde that offers space to kind of course correct that and see why that is from the inside out. Now, May 10th, we're going to see Mercury move into Taurus, into your first house. So now your voice gets sharper, stronger, and more intentional because Mercury coming to Taurus gets focused, right? As it enters your sign, though, it's still Mercury. So it's lighting up your identity. And a piece of how we're going to really spot you in May is going to be how you're expressing yourself, Taurus. So you may find that your thoughts are clearer, your words are more impactful and magical, your desire to speak or speak a particular truth is a lot louder than usual. So it's a beautiful time to present yourself, reach out to those podcasts, reach out to that school, reach out to that club, reach out to your friends, fix your website, fix your branding, fix your wardrobe, right? Whatever it is, you're thinking a lot about how others see you and more importantly, how you see yourself because you want to dress and you want to move in the way that you want to be addressed, right? But either way, your mind is especially active and it's active. I want to just give you this little nugget. It's more active around new beginnings. We haven't been in the space for a while of a lot of new beginnings, and now we are. So you're like, I want to be seen. So I want to start seeing what I need to do, how to be seen or to be heard or how to be remembered. Whatever happens, wherever you're moving, Taurus, speak from the center of your truth so that your word magic matches the version of you that's growing stronger every single day, okay? All right, when we get to the 12th, we're going to have a full moon in Scorpio, and this lights up your 7th house. So, a mid-month full moon, waking up the relationship zone, which is about relationships, but also partnerships, conscious, chosen, one-on-one partnerships. The full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to see it for what it is, decide if we're keeping it, or pivot and move in a different directions. Now, in Scorpio, this can be, an emotional moment that brings a really key relationship in your life to a pretty big turning point. And that's whether it's romantic, business, maybe something internal like your relationship with commitments to yourself, you and a higher power. But whatever it is, a Scorpio full moon is not gentle, but it is honest. Right? So something in your relationship dynamic needs to be seen, addressed, or released. If you've been tolerating imbalance, codependency, fear around intimacy, the moon is going to help you to shed some of that dead weight in the weeks that are to come. Now, I do think for some of you too, it may also be a time where you realize that someone else's vision of the way that you're connected doesn't align with your own anymore. And so letting that go, it's more of a loving choice for both of you rather than like I have to snatch this away from you, okay? But just remember that the full moon is going to have its own separate video like all the full moons do every month, but it's more about supporting transformation in you and how you share your power and your energy with others. Now, on the 20th, birthday time's over and the sun's going to kick over there into the vibration of Gemini, lighting up your 2nd house. It does it at this time of the year every year. So it's a great time here to shift your focus from this personal identity to your resources, right? Your resources, your value, how you value yourself. Because the 2nd house, when it gets activated, it puts the spotlight on your money, on how you value, how you make money. What is your definition, Taurus, of stability? And that definition of stability today, as I meet you, Taurus, may be very different than it was even 5 years ago. So what is your definition today of stability? You might feel a lot more called to explore new income streams, or you're like, I don't actually know how to do that, so I want to invest in a skill of mine so that I can learn to do it. Maybe you're rethinking your pricing in your business model. If you're self-employed, you're like, okay, I got to bring on a team, right? Something like this. There's a curiosity here as the sun comes into Gemini, and your desire to learn is what I think allows you to remember how capable you are in your own becoming. Now, because it's the 2nd house, this is also about value. The stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you deserve matter more now than I think that they have in a lot of places during the year. What you believe you're worth is directly tied to what you're going to be able to attract. This is the other reason why I say, because the 2nd house is such a Venusian space just in general. If you're not in the Venus Reset program and having the opportunity to get reconnected to your own Venus, your own value story, get things unblocked, I would really invite you to jump into it. It's a beautiful program, 22 days. You and me walking through, getting you reconnected. All right, on the 24th, we've got Saturn entering into Aries, and this is a big dang deal. It's a big dang deal. Now, the 12th house is a more quiet space. It's things going on behind the scenes. It digs into things that can be your own undoing, secrets that keep us sick. Our secrets keep us sick, lies, things going on behind the scenes. So this is a quiet but really powerful turning point for you because Saturn in the 12th house, first of all, it's the beginning of a new chapter of all the things that are going on behind the scenes. And so for the next few years, your spiritual life, your subconscious patterns, hidden fears, all of those things that are behind the scenes, that becomes the active training ground for your next version of maturity and ultimately leadership as well. So if you start to feel like you want to retreat a little, you want to pull back, you don't want to be in such loud spaces, and you want to focus on inner healing, or you want to talk about the space of inner healing, this is not a regression. You're not falling backwards. This is preparation, right? So expect to meet sick versions of yourself. Expect to meet your inner critic and expect to meet unfinished grief. Expect to meet your creativity and deepest dreams in new ways. Saturn here wants you to build a stable inner spiritual world, one that can hold you up no matter what the outside world throws at you. Because sometimes we're calling in the life that's moving forward. Bring me more fame, bring me more status, bring me more love, bring me more whatever. But then when it shows up, we don't actually have the internal fortitude to hold it. So Saturn, this is a helper. So this is going to be a transit. This is going to be a time for you that's a big deal to remember. This only happens every 30 years. It's a time for therapy. It's a time for sponsorship. It's a time for dream work. It's a time for solitude. It's time for spiritual study. It's a time for ancestral healing. But trust the quiet. You're preparing for a whole new era in just a couple years, and it's one that starts from having a strong spiritual foundation, not from the material foundation. All right, on the 25th, now we've got Mercury there into this Gemini energy, and it's joining the sun. You're thinking fast, you're thinking about money, you're moving, you're thinking about value. It's time to negotiate, you're pitching, you're revising something, you're learning new ways to do business, you're learning new ways to save things. Maybe you're switching from being on camera all the time and you're moving more to the blog or the podcast because remember, you're maybe wanting to retreat a little bit more. Whatever it is, you have the green light. You have the green light to be working on that. Your ideas are valuable. Don't let imposter syndrome talk you out of turning them into something that can support your life and be really beautiful, right? Just be mindful. It is Gemini season, so getting your energy scattered is really easy. And Gemini loves options, so you can have a lot of things that you could be doing, but you need to trust your Taurus nature. It thrives on follow through. You're like, okay, lots of options. I'm just going to be going with these one or two over here. So pick one or two financial or creative goals and just focus there. Now you'll have a bit of help with that on the 26th as we're closing out this month because we've got a new moon happening in Gemini again in that second house, inviting you to plant your seeds of intention around money, around worth, around what you're building long term. It's the perfect moment to make a list of your new financial goals, but base them on what you truly value. Update your budget. Get serious about it. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your money, right? Set intention for earning in a way that feels in alignment with you, or using your money in the material world in a way that feels in alignment. It's a great time to reflect on how your voice and your knowledge and your ideas can and maybe need to become a part of your income stream right now, okay? So the new moon is going to support some of this newness, new habits, new mindset, new confidence. It's a reset in how you value yourself, and it's the perfect time to do the Venus Reset program, but also to ask yourself, what am I ready to receive? You are a Venusian energy. You are about reception. What am I ready to receive now that I've done all of this inner work? All right, Taurus, this month has a lot of shifting in how you're going to see yourself, how you earn, how you trust, where your healing and your spirituality lies. But just remember, this is a season where some things might be ending, but you and your beautiful evolution, you are just beginning. All right, Taurus, have a great birthday, have a great month, and I'll see you in June. Happy birthday, Gemini. This month is your fresh start, your personal new year, and the universe is handing you the mic, the camera, the stage, and the moment, okay? But this time, it is not just for fun, it's for living in alignment. So, welcome to your May 2025 horoscope. Listen, Gemini, by the end of the month here in May, you've got the sun, Mercury, and a new moon all happening in your sign. So, it's lighting up your identity, your voice, your presence, okay? It's asking how you are going to show up in a new way. This is your annual fresh start. But before we get that, we're still in Taurus time and we've got to do some looking at that soul work. And I also want to talk to you about some health check-ins just a little bit, okay? Now, before we close out this month, Pluto is going to retrograde in your ninth house. Saturn is stepping into Aries, which is a really big deal. So there is this transformation in your worldview, how you've believed and seen things in the world, and then the community you have around you that also supports that I think is going to be really important because your ideas, Gemini, are good. Your word magic, your pure word magic, but your ideas are only going to be worth sharing if you honestly believe in them as well. So let's dive in. Let's see what May has to offer for this birthday season. Right at the beginning of the month on the 4th, Pluto is taking that retrograde in Aquarius. It's lighting up the ninth house space, publishing, marketing, broadcasting, higher education, belief systems, international travel, anything that takes us beyond our horizons, right? So as Pluto is retrograding here, first of all, we've had some time to see and have this area torn down and reshaped for us. What are my deeper foundations of what I know, in quotes, to be true or what I believe to be true? Because this is the house of philosophy and of spirituality and that big picture thinking. Pluto here, something in your belief system is massively transforming where you're like, oh, this is actually dying off. I am transforming here. I don't need that anymore. So like maybe you've outgrown the way you used to think about life in general. Maybe you were starting to question an old paradigm that you were taught. Maybe that's about school, society, religion, your role in all of that at all. Whatever it is, Pluto here is going to ask you to pause and reflect. Am I living my truth? Or am I living someone else's version of what my truth should be? So this is an invitation as we're experiencing this transit to become a more powerful teacher, a more powerful thought leader, a more powerful student. But first, you're doing it from the space of actually going through your own soul searching of what you believe in the world. Now, I will say this. I know this is a little drama, and I don't do a lot of drama, just a little drama. But I do think that your future depends on what you quietly discover about yourself in this next 4 months, right? Because we got to get down to the nitty gritty truth of it. Now, when we get to the 10th, we're going to see that Mercury enters into Taurus, and this is lighting up this 12th house space. So as Mercury moves here, it's like the mental chatter and clatter and noise turns more inward. It's not a time to force clarity. It's more of a time to listen because the 12th house is a space of dreams, intuition, healing, what's going on behind the scenes. And Mercury here helps you sort through the mental clutter that doesn't belong in your spiritual space anymore. So if during this transit, you're feeling quiet or you're feeling like you need to rest more, you got to listen to your body. Health-wise, what's going on with you that maybe your body is signaling to you, I need a day off from the gym. If your body is feeling more nostalgic than usual, you want to curl up with that particular blanket that, you used to love and reminds you of childhood, that's okay. This is your mind asking you for a rest stop before it revs back up at the next portion of the month and it gets back into your sign. I would also encourage you to pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to your gut instinct and your intuition, these little subtle thoughts or signs that show up, especially when you're alone, because they're indicators of information trying to be handed to you. And if you are one of my friends who is really, really creative, this is absolutely fertile ground for that sketching, drawing, pictures that come out of spiritual work, private writing, journaling, right? Any of that kind of stuff. Mercury in the 12th house wants solitude, it wants softness, and it wants a space to process. So you don't need to push it. Something important is already being downloaded behind the scenes, and you just don't have to push. Now, to the opposite side of this, we're going to see that on May 12th, we've got a full moon that's happening in Scorpio, so lighting up your 6th house space. So mid-month, I do want you to be paying attention to truly what's going on with your health and your daily routine, because the full moon's going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. And it's going to be around how you take responsibility and the trust that you have. So at this moon, because it's Scorpio, and we're looking to transform, I think it's about letting go of an unhealthy pattern, especially ones that are like subtle, or they're secret, or they're going on behind the scenes. They're a belief system that you've got going in your head that is translating directly into your body. You know, if you've been pushing through burnout, you're like, I can do just a little bit more. Your body's like, no, let's just sit down for 5 minutes. And you're like, I'll sit down in 5 minutes because I can just push through here, ignoring your body's signals, over giving at work, you know, pushing way past those boundaries. Whatever it is, this moon is shining a light on that habit and shining a light in this particular environment that behavior is slowly draining your vitality. But Scorpio is also Martian ruled, so it's here as a surgical tool as well. It will help you cut that shit out. It will help you cut out what no longer serves you. Okay, it will be helpful. Now, I laugh when I say it, but Scorpio is also ruled by Pluto, right? So it can be a toxic work habit or something that you've had a lot of anxiety around, and it's just this commitment to an energy link, but cutting it out is surgical. It can be painful, and you're going to need some time to heal after it. So thank goodness you've got a little bit of time before birthday to come into a recuperative space. Now, truly, if there has been something or someone affecting your well-being behind the scenes, this is your cue for taking responsibility to release it, but to release it with intention and with love. Right? Create those beautiful cleansing and releasing rituals if that's how you do it. Reset your diet. Your daily routine and your body deserve as much love and attention as anybody else in your life. Okay, on the 20th, hopefully you have rested from all of this, because the sun moves into your sign, and happy birthday, Gemini. It puts the spotlight officially on you. You're illuminated. You want to express there's some vitality that should be coming back around, and it asks the question for the next year, who are you becoming? Now, to help you get in alignment with that, we're going to end up having a beautiful moon at the end of the month that is going to continue to support that. But just know, as the sun comes here, this is going to be a lot of brilliant alignment for you. It's just about being true to who you are and what you found out in the days leading up to this. On the 24th, we see Saturn moving into Aries, lighting up your 11th house space. This is a major long-term shift in your social and your professional life, and in your online life as well, who you're connected to organizationally. Because as Saturn comes here, first of all, it is the indicator that it's a beginning, and it's a beginning of a 2.5-year journey through this area of your chart around friendship, around long-term goals. Are you starting to take your network more seriously? I hope so, because Saturn wants your level up, you know, whether that means that you're building a business community, an astrology community, you're curating a circle of people who are like-minded like you and can support you. Maybe you're stepping into a leadership role in a more collective space. This transit is about where you've been too casual with some dreams, and now you're ready to put structure in place. You're ready to take on the commitment of actually reaching the goal that you want. But it also does mean that you may find yourself outgrowing groups and friendships that cannot grow with you. Feel free to exit stage left if that is the experience. On the 25th, Mercury, your ruling planet, now comes home into Gemini as well. So it's going to be right there with the sun. Lots of chat. You are on, you're plugged in, you're like ready to go. And to fully support that, on the 26th, we've got the new moon happening in Gemini. And it's a beautiful way, I think, to end your month, is with this gift of a birthday present of a new moon, where it's this cosmic reset to your identity, your energy, your vision. This is your chance to plant your seeds of intention for how you would like to show up in the world. You're starting a fresh cycle. So think about it. It's not just how you're communicating, it's your wardrobe. It's that website. It's the way that you are using your words and your word magic. You get to be a whole new vibe if that's what you want. Now, we've been asked in these months before, who are you when you're not performing for the world? But who are you when you're alone and you're truly aligned? That's the version of you that this really powerful lunation has an opportunity to bring out. So plant your seeds of intention to embody it. Visibility, health, confidence, creative expression, whatever you're ready to become. Speak it into those seeds, plant them so that they can grow. All right, my beautiful Geminis, this is your month, but it's deeper than just celebration, although you know I want you to have your cake. I'm very committed to your cake or your snacks, whatever you like. It is a call, though, for you to step forward as your real self, not into your real self, but as your real self. And not just this beautiful, quick-witted version of yourself that we know. You're rewriting your story. It's been healed. So speak it, share it, be it. And I look forward to seeing you in June. My absolutely beautiful Cancers, and welcome to your horoscope for May of 2025. Where Cancer this month, especially when we get to the second half of the month, it's going to be more about that inner world. You know, some of the other signs are going to be getting this energy where they're like, yes, I get this rush of action. But about mid-month, May is going to ask you to slow down, to go inward and get right with your heart. Get right with your healing, get right with your purpose. You know, you're going to have this major lineup of planets running through your 12th house space because we're going to come into Gemini season like we do every year at this time. So it's a part of the chart that is unconscious. So we have to very specifically have time and have the right kind of energetic set up to go into it and look around because it isn't loud. It's not a loud section at all. And what happens in that 12th house space, the growth comes through sacred preparation. So you kind of go into a cocoon for a while. So we'll talk about that. But in the middle of all of that, we're going to have Saturn make a major move and get into Aries, lighting up your 10th house space. So man, I don't know what exactly you're taking on, beautiful Cancer, but you are beginning a long-term commitment to it. You're reshaping your public life, your identity, your reputation that we call you in public. So to say this before I jump in, if the month feels a little bit like a paradox, right? It's like quiet on the outside, transformational on the inside. And then all of a sudden you're being asked to just trust the process. And you have these couple days this month that you really need to get out there and do something. I just want you to know that that's absolutely 100% correct. All right, Cancer, let's jump in here and talk about this month. So right at the beginning of the month on the 4th, we've got Pluto going retrograde in the vibration of Aquarius. This is going to light up your 8th house space. So this retrograde, even as we're coming into the month, it's starting deep. Because as Pluto turns inwards in this 8th house of shared resources, I call it assets and intimacies, right? Intimacy, sex, money, transformation, death, debt. This is where this area of life has got your attention. So something in that emotional, intimate, or financial world is ready to be restructured. But first, it has to be revealed. And that can be the little bit of a challenging Pluto energy. And I don't want to say bad because it's not. Sometimes pain lets us know where we need to put a little bit of attention, right? So you may find yourself reviewing past intimate and emotional connections, maybe joint financial agreements or resources or collaborations. Maybe there's even some subconscious, not unconscious, but subconscious fears that are still driving a lot of the decisions that you're making. So this is a bit of an excavation in trust and in power, where you give your power away, you know, where you're still withholding love and intimacy because you have an old story going. And this is where the Pluto energy, as it retrogrades over this next 4 months, can show you how to take it back. So just to say, it is a potent time for healing where you've got a little bit of a blockage, whether that be trauma and you're going to therapy, you're journaling, you're doing spiritual work. Just don't underestimate the shifts that can happen in the quiet spaces while you're doing the work. Okay, on May 10th, we've got Mercury moving into Taurus, of energy you are very comfortable with. And this is going to light up your 11th house space. So as Mercury moves into this 11th house of friends, networks, organizations, social media, future goals, dreams, and ambitions you have for yourself, you know, really, I think after hearing the intensity of the Pluto transit that's happening beneath the ground, this feels like a breath of fresh air because it's a lot more stable energy. And you're thinking more about your community. You're thinking about who's in your circle, who lifts you up, who are you meant to be around, who do you want to collaborate with? And the conversations with those friends or friend groups, I think, offer the kind of clarity that your heart and your head need, you know, especially around your career and your ambition goals. So it's also a really good time for you during this transit to refine it. Cancer, what is your long-term vision for yourself? You know, what do you want to be a part of? How can you use your voice and your wisdom to be a part of a collective or an organizational mission and maybe take some leadership around that? Say it slowly, say it intentionally. It's very Taurian in this energy, but it does carry a nice big weight for you this month. On the 12th, we're going to see the full moon happening in Scorpio, lighting up your 5th house space. Now, the full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We have to see something. You've built something here already. In the 5th house, this is around creativity, joy, pleasure, play, children. Children will be a big piece of this story if you've got children in your vicinity. But something personal is rising to the surface, and it can be very, very vulnerable, but I think that you're a little bit more comfortable with that. But it's also deeply healing because it's a turning point. This is going to be a turning point. So either something for your children, around children, something in a creative project, maybe a romance that's been budding or something like that. Even in your relationship with joy and pleasure itself. Cancer, have you been holding back? You're holding back your light, you're holding back your love, you're holding back your whatever, and you're trying to protect yourself, probably from disappointment, right? This moon is going to help you let go of that fear. It's going to help you open your heart again. It's going to help you help your children or those that are young around you see where they can open their heart again and make room for the universe to continue to surprise and delight them. So for some of you, it is a full moon. So it may also bring closure or insight around things with children, whether that's something about your own childhood or childhood healing or something like that, or with your own children. And what I want to just remind you is that tears are just liquid prayers. So if you need a cry, go on a cry because it's going to help your body and your being reconnect to something else that allows you to feel more alive. All right, on the 20th, now the energies shift. We have the sun come into the vibration of Gemini, lighting up your 12th house space. As the sun slips into this unconscious space behind the veil, coming into this 12th house, the most private and reflective part of your chart. This is like your annual cosmic hibernation, okay? Your energy might dip, your dreams might intensify, your desire to be alone might increase. Now, if you already suffer with addictions or depression or things like that, this is the time of year I would be paying a little bit more attention because is it a desire to be alone and process, or is it isolation and the thing that is working behind the scenes is actually winning? So this will be something for you to pay attention to, okay? And sometimes though, paying attention to the fact that we need to get out of the spotlight and get quiet. That quiet may be exactly what you need because this is your annual solar closing, right? Like it's closing the cycle before it's going to be birthday time for you. So it is time to rest, to recharge, to retreat before your birthday month actually begins. So let yourself sleep in, let the world be quiet. You know what? They're going to be fine without your opinion out there for a little bit. It'll be okay. Don't be pressured to perform. You don't need to be that productive. Your soul is doing the kind of work that nobody can see, but you know that it's happening and that's okay. And if you do need help, you do feel like you're drowning, please make sure that you get it. Now on the 24th, major day, Saturn moves into Aries. This lights up your 10th house space. Here comes major long-term shift in your energy because Saturn here in the 10th of career, reputation, public image, your legacy. It's in Aries, so it's marking the beginning of a serious new chapter. This is not small stuff. It's a serious new chapter in your life, in your professional growth, in your path. So whatever it is, you're going to be offered a lot more responsibility, except for now you're taking it by choice, right? If you don't fight Saturn and you take it by choice, you're going to have a better time. Either way, more responsibility will kind of be heaped in your direction. Or maybe you feel pressure to clarify what you're truly about and what you've truly been building. Either way, it's not a time where you're going to be able to play small or play around with what shows up for you in this area. You're being asked to grow into your next most mature version of yourself, the leader in this area of your life, very Aries. So that doesn't mean that you need to take on so much that you burn out. It means that you're being asked to probably cut back, put structure, put boundaries, and put your ambitions on the table so that all of those things can get correctly aligned. Okay, so if you've been floating around with no clear direction, I think that this transit can help bring you a little bit more clarity. And if you've been doing work where you're hiding in the background, you may be pushed up to the forward to the spotlight. On the 25th, Mercury enters into Gemini. Now, this is in the 12th house with that sun, so it's enhancing some internal focus. So you see what I mean? There's this dichotomy this month where it's like, go do the inner work, go do the inner work. Also, come on out here and let us see you. So first of all, this is still a beautiful time for journaling, paying attention to your dreams, working on things behind the scenes. Look at, even as you're talking and you're speaking and you're in your day, pay attention to messages that you are receiving through intuition, through symbolism, through what feel like odd coincidences that, they're just too aligned to ignore. Pay attention. Your ancestors, your spirit guides, your subconscious, your unconscious, they are all speaking to you, but it's not going to be in a shout. It's a whisper, so you will have to listen, but the guidance is happening. Now, just to help you with that, we're going to have the new moon on the 26th happening in Gemini, and this is where you can plant your seeds of intention to have kind of a clean slate. You're like, give me a clean slate in my inner life, in my spiritual life. Plant those seeds of intention to be filled with not only deep faith, but deep trust in whatever you have faith in, right? Because if you've been carrying this secret fear or like a secret regret, or you've been afraid to name something or name someone, this is the time to plant those seeds of intention to let it go. Forgive yourself, forgive others, ask for support from the invisible world and allow it to manifest into a physical reality. Plant seeds of intention that bring peace into your life. This is the 12th house space, and if it comes down to a place where you're like, I need to start therapy. I need to create a new spiritual practice in my life. I need to decide to just be gentler, kinder with myself so that I can also extend that to others. This new moon is a beautiful fresh start for you. So Cancer, listen, you're being prepared. Public evolution and revolution is coming, but there's a lot coming from that private world as well. So May, I think, is a lot less about doing and more about clearing the space to live in what you've become. And the thing I think I just want to offer you for the month is hope. Protect your energy, trust the timing, honor the quiet this month, because the deeper you go this month, the more stable your success and your being are going to be as we step forward into your rest of your year. All right, beautiful Cancers, I love you. Let me know how the month is going in the comment section down below. Absolutely beautiful Leo friends, and welcome to your horoscope for May of 2025, where Leo, I think this month is a bit soul stretching, but not in this like flashy, dramatic, very Leo kind of way that I love. But it's more like this month is going to ask for a quiet courage. And it's the kind that asks you to look at your relationships, your legacy, your vision for the future. And it says, let's get real about this so that we can start to make the changes and actually start living as the embodied version of us that wants that future. Now, Pluto's going to be retrograding in your 7th house, so in that opposite of you energy. So you are being brought to this place of pretty deep reflection around your closest partnerships, whether those be romantic, business, even open enemies, whatever that is for you, you're going to be taking a look at that. And of course, Saturn is moving into Aries, making a major move. This will light up your 9th house space. So I do see you committing to something long-term, whether it's education, higher education, you're moving to another country, whatever it is that your horizons will be broadened with, this is where we're going to see these energies taking on form for you. So while all eyes are not on that big cat energy of yours, I think that your eyes are wide open to the energies around you and what you can do with them. So let's jump in here and talk about what's going on this month. Okay, right at the beginning of the month, on the 4th, we've got Pluto retrograding in Aquarius in this 7th house. Now, as Pluto is going to begin its retrograde here, it's in the relationship sector, but it's not just any relationships. They're conscious, chosen, one-on-one relationships. So you are choosing to be in relation with whomever this other partnering energy is. Okay, so if it's a partner, it's a close collaborator, it's a long-term friendship, something may be surfacing over this time now that demands that you get really honest and you come at it from a very mature perspective. So if in your relationships you're feeling this space where you want to pull back, or maybe even you just want to pull back your power, right? Because you realize that you're like, I've been trying to control this dynamic instead of being in it. It hasn't been an equal partnership. It's just been one party having all of the say. Pluto does not play. Pluto is going to ask you to really examine your motives, your emotional contracts, your attachment to being right, to being adored, to being in charge, to being the last say in all of your relationships. And so the thing about it is, though, is that Pluto works below the surface of things. So it's kind of a quiet transformation, a slow burn that's coming on for you. And the thing I get excited about, especially in Aquarian energy, is that it's like it's rewriting and rewiring how you think about partnerships, especially moving forward. So as people, places, and things present themselves to you here in May, and really for the next 4 months, I don't want you to be afraid of the mirror that they're holding up to you, Leo, because it's just showing you exactly what you need to see in terms of your partnerships to take that next evolution. Now, on the 10th, we're going to see that Mercury enters into Taurus, lighting up your 10th house space. Now, your mind is shifting to work, right? It's shifting to that career, the reputation, your legacy. And as Mercury is in Taurus, and it activates this career space, you're like stepping into leadership. You're speaking, thinking, moving like a leader. You're thinking about your goals. You're refining how the world has seen you present yourself before, that next evolution of you. So it's really an ideal time here as Mercury's doing this transit. If you needed to do practical things, update your professional bio, update your resume, rework your resume. If that thing's a mess, fix that, right? Do you need to polish up your online presence? Maybe just in the way that you're dressing and getting ready for any kind of personal appearance, you might be doing that. Now, one other thing that I was thinking about for you, Leo, is that Mercury and Taurus can be a great time if you need a mentor, or you need, you're going to school for something and you need to connect with that student advisor. This is actually a really good energy. It's very grounded, and I think you're going to have a really good person come into your life. Now, on the 12th, we see a full moon happening in Scorpio, and this is going to light up your 4th house space. Now, the full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. So the full moon is lighting up those roots, that home, that emotional foundation. And while I don't actually think that this is the most comfortable lunation, it is one of the most important that I think that you will have all year because it's in the roots. So you might be feeling called to release something from your past, an old family story, an old living situation. Maybe it doesn't have to be dramatic. Again, you could just be you're moving, you're going off to college, you're moving into a different neighborhood, whatever it is. But the full moon is shining light on how as you're moving out or moving away from that space, there's some kind of hidden emotional pattern that has kind of been at work unconsciously, and now you're going to be able to see it. And I like to remind people that Scorpio is ruled by Mars, which means it is a sign of surgery. So things could get a little surgical, right? It's going to help you to cut out things that don't belong there anymore. That way you can heal and you can transform. On the 20th, the sun enters into the vibration of Gemini, lighting up your 11th house space. This is community, friends, friendships, organizations, social media, the future vision and goals and dreams that you have for yourself. So now it's like, okay, this is a time where you're wanting to be connected, to be seen, to inspire and be inspired by people. But these are people and a tribe around you that have the same goals and values. It's a shared ideal. So this would be a great time for you, Leo, to start looking at where can you join a new group, or where can you attend some kind of event or connect with an online community where you're sharing the same ideas. Because not only are you open to being influenced and having your little soul stirred right now, but I also think you yourself are more influential right now. Mercury's traveling through Taurus. What you are saying is grounded. It's ready to be received, you know? And the most beautiful part is that after all of these transits we've experienced from the beginning of the year, it's not performative. You're not out here performing for the crowd. You're aligning with the right people so that what you're saying is hitting and it's landing for them. So pay attention to that, right? Pay attention to what kind of audience you are attracting to you, what kind of tribe of people you're attracting to you, and what are they reflecting back at you? Is this the right space for you, or is there some kind of performance going on? On the 24th, big day, Saturn enters into Aries, into that 9th house. Big shift happening right here. Okay, so as Saturn comes to this 9th house, publishing, marketing, broadcasting, philosophy, higher education, higher purpose, higher beliefs, faith. This is the marking of a new beginning. And for the next 2.5 years, you're really left with the question of what do you believe in enough to expand your horizons and build something around it? You know, for some of you, you might start taking your spiritual life a lot more seriously. Some of you are going to return to school. Some of you are going to go to school and, you know, maybe college, maybe something where you're doing training for the first time. Some of you are going to come back to that school and start teaching, writing that book, launching something out that carries your ideas forward and far beyond the usual circles that you're in. But this is the other thing that I love about what it's going to do for you. Saturn will not let you fake it till you make it. You've got to step up and actually teach. You got the content. You got the words, stand out there and teach. That's how you gain the maturity. That's how you get the discipline of Saturn. So, you know, whether it be in a skill that you're going to demonstrate, or if you've been carrying around an outdated belief system or ideologies that just don't work anymore, this transit, I think, is going to show you where those cracks are and help you build something stronger, build into what your actual belief system is now. On the 25th, Mercury now enters into Gemini, and on the 26th, we're going to see a new moon come into that Gemini space as we're going to wrap up the month. So it's very busy in the second half of the month. Mercury joining the sun, then bringing the new moon in there. It's a brilliant time to launch something online. Share your message, share your voice, take your message to a wider audience. You know, collaborate with people, even if it's in a community place. You don't have to be doing it online. You know, maybe you're a part of some organization and you guys have a mission-driven project that you're working on. You're witty, you're magnetic, you're persuasive right now. So let your ideas flow and let them stretch. Let them take root and purpose in your life and help other people in a different way. Now, with that new moon, you want to plant your seeds of intention to be able to do that. You know, do you want to grow a network? Do you want to launch some kind of social initiative? Do you want to start a mastermind program online? Do you want to start a different kind of online program? Do you want to recommit to a future with your friendships? What is it for you, Leo? But dream big here. Dream big, but plan smart, okay? This lunation at the end of May has a lot of wings and a lot of legs because it's got to go a lot of distance. So set your goals pretty high. All right, beautiful Leo friends, this month is about alignment, but it's the alignment between who you are privately and how you show up publicly, between your purpose and the people that you are surrounding yourself to be a part of that purpose. So let your relationships deepen this month. Let your career sharpen. Let that faith and belief in yourself and where you can go beyond your own horizons continue to expand. All right, my beautiful Leo friends, I love you a ton, and I'll see you in June. My absolutely beautiful Virgo friends, and welcome to your horoscope for May of 2025. We're Virgo this month. Let's just say it. The world is watching. Virgo May has some really nice major shifts in your career, but it starts, to me, as a Virgo rising, in the most Virgo way possible, with a deep audit of your energy, your systems, your daily patterns, and these things that shape your life. Now, we're also going to see that Pluto is going to retrograde. This is going to light up that daily house and that daily living system in your life. So there'll be a lot of spotlight we can look up there. It'll help you fix routines and things like that. And we're also going to see Saturn moving into Aries, into your 8th house. So there's a beginning of a long-term chapter around shared power, trust, intimacy, these kinds of things. So translation at the beginning of your video, you're leveling up personally, professionally, and spiritually. So let's jump in and talk about what the month has to offer. All right at the beginning of the month on May 4th, Pluto is going to turn retrograde in Aquarius, lighting up your sixth house space of health, wellness, daily habits, schedules, routines, where you're of service. And Virgo, listen, this is your natural domain, okay? But Pluto isn't about just tinkering with your planner or optimizing your to-do list. It is deeper, sometimes more painful questions like, why do I serve? Why am I doing this? And is my service that I'm doing in this area of my life still aligned with my soul? You may feel that internal pressure around work, around these routines, around perfectionism, questions of burnout, or even truly some physical health symptoms could be presenting themselves because this retrograde is asking you to shed control patterns that aren't serving you in this daily routine and rebuild your daily life from a place of empowerment rather than obligation. Now, that South Node is going through your sign, so you're very much so looking at where you don't need to be in control of things anymore. So it's a really big time. Now, another thing you might start to realize too, in a very practical way, is that your current job or the rhythm you have in how you do your daily work, it no longer reflects you. Right. And that is just telling you, it doesn't mean you have to throw your papers in the air and quit your job, but it is time to shift how you offer your gifts. You know, it's a season of detox to this daily routine. So even if that means you're doing a juice cleanse, you know, whatever it could be physically, mentally, or energetically, you are trying to have a come down. And I think a big piece of it dealing with Aquarian energy has to do with giving your nervous system space to rest and to regenerate. And you are a mutable sign, so taking care of that nervous system is really, really important. Okay, on the 10th, we've got Mercury entering into fellow Earth energy Taurus, lighting up your ninth house space. Now, your ruling planet Mercury, as it gets into this earthy Taurus terrain and it activates this ninth house, which is going to be all about publishing, marketing, broadcasting, higher learning, think college and above, certifications, trainings, truth, faith, right? A genuine faith that you can base your life on. This is a beautiful time to not only expand your mind and your worldview through all of these things, through study, travel, spiritual practice, asking better, deeper questions, right? That's going to be where you're going to be able to do this. And it's going to be done in a nice, slow, thorough kind of way. But I also think that for many of you Virgos, you're going to be feeling called to share your own wisdom. You know, whether that is through writing, speaking, teaching, your wisdom is like trying to come up and out because you have something to say, you have something to share. And because Mercury is in such a steady energy of Taurus, your ideas are just coming through clearly, calmly, and with a nice authority behind them. Now, for some of you too, this may be a great transit if you've been thinking about it to book that retreat, enroll in that higher education course. And some of you may be going back to something in your belief system where you're like, this didn't resonate with me for the last decade and I'm finding myself drawn to it. But the purpose of looking at it here is going to be about what do you really believe? And what's the purpose of it? How does this help you survive and navigate the bigger picture, right? Now is the time where you're not only finding it out, but I think you're speaking and sharing what you've learned as well. On the 12th, we've got a full moon happening in Scorpio, lighting up your third house space. So mid-month, the full moon is going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment in how you communicate. Things having to do with writing or studying, contracts that you're under, things having to do with siblings, right? So something you've been thinking about, writing about, or talking about, it's ready. It's ready for some kind of completion, some kind of release. And this could very well be the end of a conversation or a storyline that has honestly been playing out for some time. And now maybe this is something with that sibling, that neighbor, or even a mental loop. You know, you've been thinking about it, and this could be bringing an end to it. But the Scorpio moon energy is more emotional. and more revealing. So don't be surprised if what comes out are some pretty deep truths. And sometimes those deep truths are a little bit uncomfortable, but it also makes it a great time, when we really get to doing that internal seeing, visioning, cleaning to clear out clutter. Get whatever is stockpiled in there, detox it out. And for some of you, in this third house space, this could be that you're literally needing to clean out clutter from your digital life. Purge those old notes and emails. For God's sake, let them go. Make space for fresh ideas, because some of those are going to be your wisdom rising to the surface. So think of this as a very mental detoxing cleanse and preparing you for what's next. I love that idea for you. Okay, on the 20th, we see the sun enter into Gemini, fellow Mercury-ruled energy, and this lights up your 10th house space. Does the same time every year. So I hope you're paying attention to what does start happening for you every year at this time, Virgo, because now your focus shifts to your 10th house of career, public reputation. What do we call you in public? Visibility. Okay, so we're very much so seeing you here. And as the sun moves here, it's like all eyes are on you. And the sun is motivated. It's bringing light, heat, life, and vitality. So if you're feeling that urge to get on the stage, whether that's literally or metaphorically, this is the time to make this move in your career. Pitch yourself, put yourself out there, let your voice be heard, especially in professional spaces. Now, if you've been hiding behind the scenes, this energy is your official invitation to step on out here. But Gemini energy is different. It's a different Mercury because it's not about perfection. It's about presence. Don't wait to be flawless before you show up. That makes you absolutely unrelatable. Let curiosity, let communication, let your humanity lead the way. Now, on the 24th, we see Saturn moving into Aries, and this is a huge story because for the next 2.5 years, you're going to be invited to get real, really real about, first of all, being a human being, right? That there's no perfection over there except for the imperfection of your perfection. How you trust people, how you merge with other people, how you share your intimacy, your money, your love. Because as Saturn comes into this 8th house, it's shared resources, it's intimacy and assets, it's transformation. So this is where you're going to begin to take a lot of active responsibility for this area of your chart. You might be being asked to create much stronger boundaries in your closest bonded relationships. Maybe you need to rebuild a relationship with someone. Maybe you have to rebuild a relationship with debt, inheritance, tax, power dynamics. You have to look at how you've engaged that. Whatever it is, over this next 2.5 years, this is some deep and personal work, but it's also incredibly stabilizing. Saturn here helps you mature into your full emotional integrity. Okay, so you can receive and relate from a more grounded but more sovereign place. And let's not forget that Aries is the god of war. Aries comes fully equipped with surgical equipment, the things that need to be cut away and cauterized so that they don't leak and ooze, crazy fluids, but instead are able to heal. Aries will help you cut away. Saturn will stabilize and bring you to the next level. On the 25th, we see Mercury moving into Gemini, now bringing Mercury and the sun together in your 10th house. So this gives your professional voice or your public voice a lot more strength, a lot more clarity. So it is a great time for presentations, public speaking, job interviews, getting married. These are all great things. Writing projects. We've talked a lot about writing this month. So whatever that is connected to your career, people are paying attention to what you have to say now. So use your space well, use your words wisely, Virgo, whether you're pitching a new idea, whether you're going to have a deep professional conversation, you want to update your brand, your mind is sharp, your message is strong, and you have the attention. The one thing I want to say again is this is a fellow mercurial energy. So it's like Mercury on Mercury, which can be a lot. Watch for overthinking or watch for getting too scattered in your communications or your projects, because Gemini moves fast. So you're going to want to anchor that with that Virgo discernment. Where do you actually need to put your attention and energy? Now you'll get a little bit of help with that because the new moon's going to be happening in Gemini on the 26th. And this is your chance to plant your seeds of intention because your next chapter of success, purpose, public contribution, it starts now. It starts now. Plant those seeds. If you've been waiting for the right time to start something that is going to launch you out there, take you to that next thing, apply for that new role, share your voice more boldly. This is it. And you were not prepared before right now. That's the thing I really want you to know. You were not prepared until right now. And likely, Virgo, it had a lot to do with becoming human, right? You had to become human like the rest of us and see that the things that have been hard are what make you relatable and thus actually make you of service. So take some time around this new moon. Write out what kind of professional legacy you are building, because whether you're leaving the legacy to your family or it's just going to be the space that your name carries after you're gone, what kind of legacy are you building? Not what sounds impressive, but what feels really true for you, even if it's massively simple, because this lunation supports that clarity, that courage. It supports your visibility in a big way. So now is time to ask and bring that clarity. All right, my beautiful Virgo friends, May begins, I feel like, in your body and in your mind, and it ends on a stage. Your work is meant to serve other people, but it's also meant to serve you. So let this be a month that you remember that. All right, Virgos, your legacy is calling. I cannot wait to see and hear how the month goes for you and what you're doing with it. So let me know in the comment section down below. I love you, and I will see you in June. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Libra friends, and welcome to your May horoscope for 2025, where Libra May is bringing a really beautifully complex blend of like pleasure and power and purpose. And the thing I want to leave you with to just consider for May is that you are being invited to expand your world, but only after you get really honest about what you truly value and where you're still holding back a bit. Because Pluto is going to be doing its retrograde through your 5th house. This is passion. This is creativity. So this is going to be a time, and it's a low and slow. It's not fast and in your face like Mercury retrograde, but where you're really questioning, what does joy look like to me now in this version of who I am? In the world as it is today, what does it look like? Saturn is also going to be moving into Aries, which is a big deal for the next 2.5 years. Your conscious, chosen one-on-one relationships are going to be getting into a new chapter of maturity. You're taking on commitment because you choose to, and sometimes that means you're choosing to take on the challenge. So I think this is a really dynamic month for you. But, listen, it's not all deep work all the time. There is so much beauty. The end of the month is going to light up this place that's about travel. And it's not just travel of getting in a plane, train, or automobile, Libra, but where do you want to go next? Mentally, spiritually, literally. And it's about the play and just the enjoyment of the journey. Okay, Libra. That's enough. Let's jump in here and see what the month has to offer. Right here at the beginning of the month on May 4th, this is where Pluto is going to start this retrograde in Aquarius, lighting up your 5th house space. So this is about joy, pleasure, play, creativity. There's romance in here. So if you're dating or you're flirting with your person that you're already with, this is very much so there. But the other things we don't want to forget is that this is also about conception. So whether you're conceiving a person or you're conceiving an idea, a hobby becomes, more to the forefront, and then maybe you want to turn it into a business or something like that. But also children. What's happening for your children? What's happening in your life around children that would have a significant 5th house space for reevaluation for you? But I do want to take you to this place because Libra, you're a Venusian, so there's a lot going on for you around relationships all the time, no matter what. So as this Pluto is retrograding, you may be reevaluating some kind of romantic connection, or even the romance of some kind of artistic project, and you loved it. And now you're like, this is not aligning anymore with not who I am, but who I'm becoming. And that's why I say Pluto is a slow burn. It's not like, Pluto goes retrograde on the 4th and you wake up at, the 4th.5 and you're like, oh, I'm over it. get out. It's not necessarily like that. It's a slow burn, but it's about the who you're becoming. It still fits now, but it won't fit for long. So this retrograde is where I think you have this clear invitation to clear out, some old ego patterns that worked, that boosted you up for a time. And if it is not giving life anymore, then it is not giving, especially any kind of ego or energy patterns tied to really needing the external validation for your talents, for affection, any of those kinds of things. The thing I want to ask you here to consider during your Pluto retrograde time is, are you expressing yourself for approval or because it's just really true? This is really who I am. So for many of you beautiful Libras, you're going to find how potent this energy is in the next 4 months because, I'm getting emotional saying this to you, but there's a healing of an old wound. Maybe even in your childhood, someone said you can't do that. It restricted your play, your freedom. Something stopped you from being yourself. And this is just that chapter where you get to let go of the fear. Be visible, be be vulnerable, be visible, and let your heart kind of open to that playful space again. So keep me posted in the comment section, please, what this even brings up for you. All right, on the 10th, we've got Mercury moving into Taurus, lighting up your 8th house space. Now, as Mercury shifts into the 8th house, first of all, we are out of the post-retrograde shadow time, so Mercury is like full on, okay? Your thoughts are going to go deeper and slower. So it's an ideal time during this transit to have any kind of conversation you would normally avoid, and especially conversations around money, trust, power, sex, debt, intimacy. These are going to be the spaces to do that. Now, if you want to talk about astrology too, that also lives in the 8th house, and I love that for you. So for some of you, it could look like you are negotiating, not renegotiating, negotiating. So this is a forward motion, some kind of shared financial situation, or you are going back over those debts, those investments. If, the world has been changing, what's going on with your stock portfolio? Maybe you're finally able to get more honest, that next level of honest in some kind of relationship about the emotional and intimate needs that you have. So your mind becomes a tool for transformation, but it's like in the Tauran energy, you're really willing to go there and face it because you know that it's a slow and steady thing, that whatever you build here, whatever conversations you have here, the answers are below the surface, but you'll get to them. That's that Taurian spirit, okay? Fellow Venusian as well, so it'll slightly be less painful. On the 12th, we've got a full moon happening in Scorpio. This lights up just next door, so your 2nd house. The full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, and to make an adjustment. We have to course correct. Something's been working for a while, and now it's time to say, okay, those things don't work, but these things still work, so I'm going to commit to going forward in this path. In the 2nd house, this is the house of money, value, self-worth. In money here, we're talking about how you make money, how you get money to come to you, okay? So at the full moon, especially in Scorpio, I think that something is revealed or released around how you earn, how you spend. What does that budget look like? What are you charging for your services? What do you believe that you deserve? Because your value piece, your self-worth piece is going to tell a lot about what's happening in your financial life. Now, if you have not jumped into my Venus Reset program yet, which gets you reconnected to your Venus and gets these blockages of value and worth out of the way, I really suggest that you jump in and do it. It's in the description box down below. It has been brilliant. And the people are saying it's working. All these value things that we've had going on, which are going to be big ticket for you to be paying attention to, it can really help you, okay? So truthfully, if you've been holding on to some kind of financial pattern that doesn't serve you anymore, if you're spending to soothe yourself, if you're undercharging, you're linking your value only to productivity, right? You've got a business or you've got something going on in your house that you're never allowed to take a break from, or you won't be valuable. This lunation is to help you let it go, because Scorpio wants transformation. So let this be the moment that you stop surviving and start building something sustainable to thriving. Now, Scorpio is still ruled by Mars, so there's a physicality portion to this particular lunation as well. So I think it is also a good time to clear up any physical or like energetic clutter that you have around money. If you've got things in your house and you're not using it, sell it. Sell it. If you've got things in your house that are holding on to some kind of debt or they have energy of debt around them, pay it off if you can. Forgive what you can. If somebody owes you money and they have owed you money for 17 years, forgive them. Forgive them. Give yourself the space to forgive them, okay? Because you are worth more than what that dollar amount is that you're thinking should be coming to you. You're worth probably triple that. So forgive them, let the vibration go so that that money can come and find you. Okay, on the 20th, we have the sun moving into Gemini, lighting up your ninth house space. I love this portion of the month for you. Now, it comes every year. It's like this every year, okay? The sun brings light, heat, life, and vitality to this ninth house space, which is about publishing, marketing, broadcasting, higher education, foreign travel, your belief systems, your philosophies that govern your life, this wisdom of wanting to know what else is out there. So as the sun is here, the energy expands. Now, after the intensity of emotional and financial transformation, you're kind of invited as the sun comes to Gemini to zoom out a little, get a little bit more superficial, right? But superficial in the ninth house, you're thinking big, you're dreaming a little bit further because this is the part of your chart that really does. It's like, I want to learn something. I want to know what my personal philosophy and mission statement is. And I want to know, what does saffron taste like with vanilla ice cream? What happens when you do that? You know, so you might feel this surge of interest and you're like, I'm going to take this class. I want to plan a trip to someplace I've never been, even if it's just one town over. You know, I want to explore a different belief system. And it doesn't have to be religious. It doesn't have to be ceremonial. Maybe you've heard about human design, but you've never actually looked into it. Or maybe you've heard about financial literacy, but you've never looked into it. The beauty of Gemini season here for you is the ability to hold two truths at once. You are already an air sign, so let curiosity of the season be your wonderful playmate and your guide. And if you've been in a rut, beautiful Libra friends, let me tell you what. This energy is going to remind you that you're not stuck. You're not stuck. You never have been. And in this season, be easy and just stretch a little. Just stretch, just a little side bend, okay? All right, on the 24th, Saturn moves into Aries, and this is something we need to perk up and really pay attention to. And I encourage you, Libra, get your chart and see where this is at in your particular chart outside of just the general, because this is a big one for you, Libra. Saturn moving into your opposing sign, into Aries. This is the seventh house of conscious, chosen, one-on-one committed partnerships and relationships. So you know everybody that's over there, whether it's a romance, it's a business partnership, it's you and your body, it's you with whatever you call God, it's you with your open enemies, lawsuits, whatever you've got going on, mentors. This kicks off a major 2.5-year chapter of refinement, maturity, absolute growth, and really deep learning in these relationships. And the only way we really grow in these relationships is through some of the challenging experiences, right? Because it's not always the easiest energy. It's Saturn, so it can feel a bit heavy, but it's incredibly clarifying for you. You will start to see exactly where your relational patterns are serving you and where they've run their course. For some Libras, this will bring a long-term commitment to the table. Some of you, or the bond gets deeper. And really that could be, you're like, okay, I'm getting married. I'm getting divorced. I'm going more deeply into some kind of commitment that I have. And for other Libras, this is actually going to mark that official beginning of endings, or like really serious reckonings around some boundaries, some expectations, and some balance, right? Because it doesn't mean just because Saturn's coming to your seventh house, you do not have to get divorced. You do not have to break up. You do not have to leave the business. But we do have to establish some different rules of engagement. And Saturn is about long-term maturity. Whatever the case, Saturn is not here to punish. I need you to hear me say that. Saturn is not here to punish. It's here to grow you up. And it's going to grow you up kind of fiercely, but the planets move in cosmic love, and we need to remember that. It's not about perfect harmony anymore. It's about honest, fearless alignment. Okay, on the 25th, we've got Mercury now entering into Gemini, into that ninth house space. And as Mercury joins the sun in your ninth house, it gives you even more mental momentum. Ooh, that's a good set of words. This is an excellent time to study, to write, to teach. Share your own story, Libra. What have you learned? It's a great time to travel. If you feel particularly inspired to, to speak or to share on topics that are important to you, and they don't have to be deep. It's not like you're talking about, the depths of your soul trauma. You could just be like, I really liked the book, The Alchemist, and here's all the things I thought was great about it. Things that have to do with justice, other belief systems, big picture. You want to paint a big picture plan. Your words have weight and playfulness, and your thoughts are inspiring to other people and other causes beyond your usual circles. That's what I think I really like about the playfulness of the second half of the month for you. It's a great window for you to expand. And you're going to get a little help with that because on the 26th, as we're closing out this month, we're going to see that the new moon is now here in Gemini. So as we close this month with this beautiful new moon, this is the part and the time of the year where your chart says, stretch a little wider. It's okay, be easy, but just stretch a little bit more. Dream a little bit bigger. Let's go just a little bit further, right? But we're doing it in fun. So this is the moment to set your intentions, plant those seeds of intention around growth, publishing, marketing, global projects, spiritual practices, deepening your wisdom, widening your worldview. If you've been craving something, if you're like, I'm craving meaning in my life, this moon gives you the green light to start seeking it. But you're just brushing around the surface, right? You're not ready to get too deep into it, but you're like, wow, I did find something over here. So go this second half of the month with a very curious, air-filled heart and enjoy it, because what you begin now is going to have ripple effects in the years to come. Remember, it's a new moon, so you're starting a new 2.5-year cycle. So let's see what you build, and don't be afraid to bet on you and your higher self. All right, my absolutely beautiful Libras, May is here to shift you and to lift you, so let it. I love you very much. I will see you in the Venus Reset program if you're not in there yet, and I will also see you in June. My absolutely beautiful Scorpio friends, and welcome to your horoscope for May of 2025. And Scorpio, listen, May is not for the faint of heart. It's not. And that's why I think it's absolutely perfect for you. Because this month, the energy is like it hands you a cosmic microphone. You've got the full moon in your sign, and simultaneously it opens the vault on the other side to really deep relational energetic transformation. Then we're going to see Pluto, one of your ruling planets, take its retrograde in the heart of your chart. So it's going to be pulling you back into this space of like coming home, into ancestral healing, into home truths, and these kinds of energies. Then we'll see the sun, Mercury, and a new moon all gather together in your 8th house of intimacy and assets. So we're going to be looking at your personal power. Now, let's not forget that Saturn enters into your 6th house. This is beginning a new long-term relationship and commitment with your body, with discipline, with service. So there's a lot to uncover. Let's get in here, Scorpio, and take a look. Now, first of all, Pluto, one of your ruling planets, is stepping into a retrograde in Aquarius, and this is going to light up your 4th house space, okay? This is home, family, real estate, property. But more than that, I feel like this is an indicator with Pluto, because Pluto's a slow burn. It doesn't go retrograde on the 4th, and on the 5th, you're like, oh, I'm transformed. It's not like that. It's a slow burn, but you're used to working with that. So it brings that transformation, that burning off of what doesn't need to be there anymore, right into your emotional core. For many, many of you, with the other shifts that have happened in the world, I think that this is ancestral. I think that this is generational. I think that this is foundation level work, and you may already feel that rising to the surface, right? You may feel old family patterns bubbling up to the surface, or maybe you see them in current family patterns, habits, traumas, narratives, and some of those were passed down really unconsciously. But this retrograde invites you to take a look at where all of your roots are at right now, with new eyes, a new set of glasses. Who taught you how to love? Who taught you how to protect yourself? Who taught you what it means and how to trust people? These are the questions we're going to be looking at. Now, in a more practical matter, you might be revisiting your relationship just with home in general. Now, that can be literally, that can be symbolically, but whether you're considering a move, you're doing this healing from the past, you're questioning emotional boundaries in some kind of situation you have, this Pluto retrograde, it's a reclamation of power, but it's at your base, like everything that you sit on top of. So just remember that this is not going to be the time over the next 4 months to just be rushing in. It's the time to repattern with a lot of care, with a lot of truth, and with a readiness to create your own new inner foundation. Now, Pluto is an outer planet as well, Scorpio. We cannot forget that. So some of the things in society have literally been broken down and ripped away. And you may be put into a position where it has rocked you to your core, and you're needing to rebalance an inner foundation around a new story. Scorpios, please let me know what's happening for you in the comment section down below. Now, when we get to the 10th, Mercury is going to move into Taurus, lighting up your 7th house space. It's Taurus season. It's this time every year. So every year we're going to have these kinds of interactions where the sun is in the 7th house, bringing light, heat, life, and vitality. But as Mercury moves into Taurus, now your partnerships, your conscious chosen one-on-one relationships, mentorship, open enemies, it's inviting you to become Taurian, right? Become steady, grounded in how you communicate. It's an ideal time really during this transit to talk through any kind of plans that you need to with your partner. Clarify something that you're collaborating on, clarify a commitment. It's really good for signing contracts. If you've been in negotiation for a while, this would be a good transit to sign those contracts under. Of course, in the general, you got to check this against your own chart, because Taurus energy, while you're both fixed, Taurus brings an earthiness and a patience and a clarity. It's like, let's make this simple and let's make this clear. It's going to bring that to all of your conversations. Now, you are going to be asked to listen as much as you're speaking. What are your closest relationships, Scorpio, reflecting back to you? And are you approaching your connections in your conscious chosen relationships with presence and not just intensity? So let this just be a month where you have some strategic silence, but also some, let's call it honest diplomacy, okay? When we get to the 12th, now we've got a full moon happening in your sign. So lighting up your first house, this is your moon, right? A full moon is going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. So the full moon in your sign is this marking of this emotional and energetic culmination. And I do think that this one hits a little bit deeper. So Scorpio, if you've been feeling, or this moon comes around and you're feeling a bit more raw or a bit more exposed, or maybe it's not exposed in a way where you like finally feel seen, the masks that you've been wearing and they worked for a while, whether they were out of protection or performance, they're ready to fall away. And this gives way to new energy. This moon is an invitation for you to shed that old skin and let this new version come on out, because the other stuff doesn't fit anymore. So wear the skin that you're in today. So this could be an identity shift for you. It could even be a body awakening. What is your body signaling to you? And at a very simple level, I think it could just be the realization that you have outgrown something or someone internally, externally, and it just doesn't work anymore. So it's about liberation. So let yourself be emotional, let yourself be open, let yourself be real, and let yourself be reborn at this particular full moon. Now on the 20th, we've got the sun shifting out of that 7th house into the 8th house as it comes into Gemini. The sun bringing light, heat, life, and vitality turns a spotlight towards a little bit more inward energy. Now you're typically an 8th house energy, so you might actually really enjoy this. And the 8th house is one of the most psychologically rich pieces of the chart. It's sex and death and transformation, intimacy and assets. But it's done like a Gemini this time for you. So while you may find yourself digging into shadow work or going into that intimacy, looking at those financial entanglements that you have, while typically it wouldn't be surface level, this one is a little bit more towards the surface, but it's a soul level inventory, right? The key here is consent. I want to use that word again. The key here when we're dealing with Gemini is consent with yourself and with others. You don't need to process everything with everyone or all at once, but you do need to honor what's rising up with you and find a space and an outlet to share those words. Gemini is based in word magic. So whether you are navigating vulnerability, it's some kind of joint venture you're in. Maybe you're in a season of navigating some grief. This is a powerful time to get that pen and paper, to get clear, to get empowered on what is coming up for you. What are the words? What are the symbols? What are the connections that are firing for you? Now, May 24th brings Saturn into Aries, and this is a big deal because it's a major shift coming into your 6th house of health, work, daily routines. And I put mental health and wellness in there as well. The way that you govern and navigate through your daily life. And this includes if you're a freelance person, how is your daily life with business and work set up as well? Because this is going to begin a 2.5-year cycle of discipline, structure, and refinement in this area of your chart. And it's going to show you what's not functioning well. And it will also reward the things that you're doing really well that you have a lot of mastery over. So this could mean that you're committing to some kind of new wellness routine. And again, this could be mental health and wellness, so what's coming up with how you talk to yourself, the connection between your mind and your body, if you've had any traumatic brain injuries or anything like that, right? You're leveling up your skills and your systems to just be in alignment with what you need now. You could also be realizing that some of your service to other people needs boundaries. When Saturn was in Pisces, that we didn't have all that, but now you know about it and you're implementing them. But Saturn is going to ask you, are you showing up fully, Scorpio, for your body, for your responsibilities, for your mind, and for your mission? It's all of these things. Listen, a Saturn transit is not always glamorous, but it is powerful because Saturn is going to take you to the next level and you choose to go. The more you choose to go with Saturn as opposed to being drugged, honey, don't be drugged. Don't be drugged by Saturn. It is rough. The changes you make during this transit about how you treat your body and your daily routine and manage your time, they're going to support everything else that you are building to be happy and whole. All right, on the 25th, now we've got Mercury coming into Gemini into this 8th house. So when Mercury joins the sun, your mind is like officially in X-ray mode in this 8th house space. So you're asking those deeper questions, but you're not stressed about them, right? You're asking the deep question and then you're letting the answers percolate to the top. You're reading between the lines. You're speaking about what really goes unspoken. You're listening to what your body, your systems, your heart, your core, your money is telling you. So it's a really potent time for therapy. It's Gemini season. Talk it out, journal, write. It's good for financial planning. It's good for studying astrology. Have a conversation with somebody that you really trust. Now, if you're feeling pulled towards, because I've seen this happen before. If you're feeling pulled towards some investigation, you want to investigate the mysterious, you want to investigate your own psychology, you want to go finally more deeply into something you've been avoiding like grief or debt or detox, this would be an ideal time for it as well because you have a quick enough mind to work with it. So if your work in healing, finance, or transformation, any of these 8th house things are coming up for you, your insights are good right now. They're pretty razor sharp and you have some energy to go there. You're going to get a little bit of help and support as we close the month because we've got a new moon happening in the same area of your chart here in Gemini. So this again is going to make this a time of, I think, completing an emotional cycle. You've released at the full moon some things about you, Scorpio. But now you're ready to invite some new things into you, into your intimate spaces, right? So you're planting your seeds of intention around healing, around trust, practicing actual trust with shared resources, with other people, around sex, around financial sovereignty, around being empowered, around actually coming out to be that astrologer. So this is your moment to start a new story in how you share your body, your secrets, your energy. And you don't have to rush to open up, but at this new moon, you do need to choose to be real and to participate if you really want to see the juiciness of this. Remember, at this new moon, it's the beginning of a new 27-month cycle. So you have time to grow, Scorpio. You absolutely do. All right, my beautiful Scorpio friends, you already live in the deep. Now let's let that power rise to the surface. All right, my beautiful Scorpio friends, I love you a ton. Have a great month, and I'll see you in June. Hello, my beautiful Sagittarian friends, and welcome to your horoscope for May of 2025. And Sagittarius, this month, May is asking you to get real, but like in the best way. Okay, so this is a month where relationships are going to take center stage like they do every year at this time, but it's not just about romance or business. There's a fair amount of reflection here. You know, the kind of clarity that comes from truly listening, truly speaking, and truly showing up in your relationships to see what's actually going on in there. Pluto's going to take a retrograde in your third house, and this stirs the pot a little bit around what you think and how you connect. And we are also going to see that Saturn is moving quietly but quite powerfully into your fifth house. So I like it because it's marking a long-term shift for you and how you approach all of these things: romance, pleasure, play, joy, creativity. You know, it's no small thing. This is a major transit, so I don't want to leave you with any idea that there's going to be small potatoes going on. All right. Things are picking up the pace because energies are moving forward. But let's jump in and take a look at what the month actually has to hold for you. On the 4th, we've got Pluto taking that retrograde in Aquarius, lighting up your third house space. So as Pluto begins its retrograde here through the third house of communications, things having to do with siblings, networking, writing, contracts, short distance trips, stories that we tell ourselves, the way that we give and receive information, right? As Pluto is beginning its retrograde here, your mind might become, it can be a little bit of a minefield if you don't view it from a positive perspective. Or it can be that you're just watching and observing what's going on, especially in old thought patterns, in old communication habits, in stories you have told yourself about yourself. With Pluto, because it works low and slow, it's more of that crock pot kind of energy, right? It is not a saute. We're not in the skillet. We're not on the grill. It's crock pot style. So this is your invitation to go deeper. Are there words that you are using, Sagittarius, that still align with a truth that's not really who you are anymore? Are there conversations that you're having, they're not meaningful anymore, or, they're just noise? You're not really having conversation, you're having noise. So I think it raises you to the surface a little bit as well and allows you to share a different level of depth. Now, this can also really bring up things around healing with siblings and sibling relationships, or something about your local community or environment. So I'm going to tell you, it's a really important time and a really important thing over the next 4 months that you really listen. Listen to other people, but also really, really listen to yourself. And the last thing I can say about it is, because Pluto does come to clean up, is if you need to declutter your mental space, listen, if you need to declutter the homepage of your phone, your laptop, any of those things, if you need to rethink about how you're speaking in the world, this would be a great time to do that. On May 10th, we see that Mercury enters into Taurus, lighting up your sixth house space. As Mercury shifts here, it's about your daily routine. It's about work, but not having the job, but the daily things that you do in the job. It's about wellness, not just physical wellness, but mental health and wellness as well. It's going to be about how you are of service to other people. So Mercury here in Taurus, which is so steady and so grounded, is giving you the clarity to restructure this area of your life. So if you find yourself wanting to rework your schedule, or you need to reorganize your workspace, or you're like, okay, hold on, I need to have a little bit more clear communication with this job, or the flow of things that are happening at my job, this is a great time to do that. In addition to being a fantastic transit for you to research ways to support your own physical and mental health, especially things that are sustainable. You're looking for not what is a quick fix, but what is sustainable and realistic. That's very Tauran energy. It's steady, it's practical energy that helps you get any big idea into real world form without being completely overwhelmed. So if that's something if you've been overwhelmed or you've been scattered, Mercury and Taurus can help you ground down and focus on what actually gets things done. It simplifies. Now on the 12th, we're going to have a full moon happening in Scorpio. So just the other side of that Tauran energy. And the full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make a pretty big adjustment, right? We have to commit to a new path. Now, this lights up your 12th house, and these are all the things happening behind the scenes. It's the part of your chart that governs, your inner world, things that people don't necessarily see unless you invite them into. Rest, healing. It's not always easy to sit with our subconscious and see what our sub and unconscious mind thinks about rest or thinks about healing. But this particular moon wants to illuminate things that you've been avoiding, especially emotional things. So you might feel emotional. Maybe you feel a little bit more introspective. Maybe you're tired at this time, and that's okay. Something is leaving your energetic system. Right? It maybe is not leaving just your physical system, but your energetic system. So whether it's an old wound, a spiritual fear, some kind of narrative that's been on repeat quietly in the background and governing decisions you're making, just let yourself be as it is. Let yourself grieve if you need to. Let yourself unplug and trust that this release is sacred. You're clearing space in your soul to reconnect with joy, pleasure, and play again. And I love that for you. Now, on the 20th, we have the sun shifting into Gemini energy. And every year at this time, it becomes about connection. It becomes about relationships. So it lights up that 7th house of conscious, chosen one-on-one partnerships, which means you know who you're in relation with, whether you have a problem with them and they're an open enemy, or it's your business partner or a romantic partner. You know the partnerships you're connected with. So this is when, as the sun is here bringing all that heat and that motivation, and these relationships take center stage, you're going to look for more meaning. You want more meaning, but it's done like a Gemini. So expect more conversation. Everything's not super deep, but you will have a lot more mirror moments as well, where you're saying something to someone and they're literally mirroring back to you what you have going on. So it's an invitation to network and to align and share someone else's space and energy. And you guys reflect back and forth with each other. You may be rethinking some kind of collaboration or commitment that you're in, or what does commitment look like to you? That's a great thing to be thinking about right now. And it's not about losing your independence. It's not about that at all. It's about finding a version of you that can dance intimately with other connections where both people expand, that's what you want, Sagittarius, expansion. All right, on the 24th, big day, Saturn enters into Aries, lighting up your 5th house space. This is a powerful long-range shift because as Saturn comes here, the 5th house being of joy, pleasure, play, creativity, passion, children, ideas that you want to take a risk on something, romance for sure. For the next couple years, 2.5, as a matter of fact, you're going to get serious about what lights you up and what doesn't. Because you're being asked to honestly take your joy more seriously. Doesn't that seem like an oxymoron, right? Take joy seriously. But you're being asked to do that, but not in a heavy way, but one that's more devoted. How do you make your life easier? That's going to be a massive question for you to ask. You might begin a long-term creative project. Maybe you step into a role as a parent or a mentor. Maybe you're rethinking romantic expectations. Whatever it is, you're refining your relationships. And you're also going to be refining your relationship with self-expression and asking yourself, what does fulfillment really look like to me as the person I am today? What does emotional fulfillment really look like? What am I willing to build in order to have it? Because Saturn is a building and a constructing energy, and what you construct lasts long term. On the 25th, we've got Mercury now entering into this seventh house space. And when Mercury joins the sun here, your conversational life and your relationships is going to start flowing full and fast. So expect to be chatty and curious, maybe even have a restlessness in your partnerships, or you notice people around you are a more restless kind of energy. It's a great time to talk through different ideas. It's a great time to dialogue. If there were any misunderstandings that came up in the past, you can get those sorted out right now too. The one thing you want to be mindful of with your beautiful fire energy is being scattered or being too superficial with your words, because Mercury in Gemini loves the talk piece, but it's not really about the depth. So you don't want to just throw some words out there if you're not prepared to kind of back them up, and go down that road with someone. So just use this energy to ask better questions. Be interested, listen. Don't just be interesting, be interested, okay? All right, you'll get a bit of help with that as we close out the month, because we've got a new moon happening in Gemini, again in that seventh house. So offering you a clean slate on how you connect in your partnerships, how you collaborate, where you're conscious in how you are dealing with other people. So this is the moment to plant those seeds of intention and call in new levels of clarity, new levels of conscious communication. And this is again with your closer bonds, these people you have chosen to be in your life because you're building something that's important to you with them. So whether you're ready to deepen a relationship and take it to that next place of commitment, you're starting something very serious, you're redefining what partnership means to you, this moon is supporting all of that. So set your seeds of intention about how you want to show up, how you want to be met, and what kind of partnership you actually want to grow. All right, my beautiful Sagittarian friends, May wants you to grow, but I believe that it wants you to grow with grace, and you are more than ready, Sagittarius. So let me know how the month goes, and I will see you in June. Hello, my beautiful Capricorn friends, and welcome to your horoscope for May of 2025, where Capricorn May is asking you to kind of come back to your roots. Not like let's just build something bigger, but to make sure that what you are building and what you have built is actually made to last. Now, Pluto is going to retrograde in your second house, so there's also going to be this crock pot style, nice slow warming up and cooking into reviewing how power and money intersect in your life. We'll talk about that in a minute. Big news is that Saturn is entering into Aries, into this fourth house space for you. So you are beginning a powerful and important new chapter in your home life, in what you perceive to be personal security, in what is actually real live emotional foundation for yourself. Now, I just want to say this too. The second half of the month turns your focus more inward to your work and to your daily routine. So this is going to offer you a chance at the second half of the month to actually turn some of that noise down and come a little bit more inwards. Now, the month itself is not very loud, but I do think it is defining. So let's jump in here and talk about what the month has to offer for you. All right, Capricorn, on the 4th, we've got Pluto taking a retrograde just next door in the vibration of Aquarius. So this lights up your second house space of income, finances, worth, resources, value. So like I said, Pluto is not this retrograde that's like a Mercury retrograde where it's in your face and you feel it and you're like, oh, I need to do that by Tuesday. It's not fast. It is not on the grill. It is in the crock pot, low and slow. So you're going to have time to start looking at why you earn what you earn and whether or not your income reflects your value or just your conditioning. That is massive to have 4 months to look over. So think about this. If you've been hustling for security, but you're feeling spiritually unfed, spiritually underpaid, this transit is going to help you get clear on your worth. And it's not just about the number in your account, but the power behind how you handle money, how you engage it, what you expect from your life. That level of value is getting ready to change the game for you. Now, for some of you Capricorns as well, you may also revisit just the old fears around scarcity, around control. So I would really suggest not only for you to use this time to realign with your values, definitely declutter and burn away some of those outdated beliefs about money that no longer belong to the person you are today and who you're becoming. But I would highly suggest to you to jump into the Venus Reset program. We work all about reconnecting you to Venus, which is your planet, your beacon for value and self-worth in your chart. So there's a link to that in the description box down below. All right, on the 10th, we've got Mercury moving into Taurus, another Venusian energy getting your attention. But as Mercury shifts into Taurus, it shifts into your 5th house of joy, pleasure, play, creativity, romance, children. So this is a space where Mercury, being our planet of communication, it's going to give your mind kind of a much needed dose of pleasure. Think dopamine, like dopamine dressing, wearing a nice outfit to make yourself feel good and just enjoying your thought life. So this is a great transit for you, Capricorn. It's a great time to write, to create. If there's a hobby or something that just brings you joy that's been on the back burner for a while, come on back to it. It can also be a time for being a little bit more flirty. I like that for you. This is still Taurus energy. Or maybe you're in a bit more grounded conversation about love, or you want to get clearer about children. Where is your inner child had an opportunity to play in this last year? So you may find that during this transit, some of your best ideas come to you through being easy, through pleasure, and through play. So don't be afraid in this first half of the month to unplug, let that inspiration flow. Strategy will still be there when you come back, but let's have a little play. All right, on the 12th, we've got a full moon happening in Scorpio. This full moon is going to ask you to end something, acknowledge something, or to adjust something. And this is in your 11th house of friendships, networks, organizations, long-range dreams and aspirations that you have for yourself. Something is culminating. And perhaps, a community you've outgrown, maybe a community that you thought you outgrew, you're actually growing into. There can be a collaborative project or some kind of organization you've been connected to, and you really have to bring that to a close. Or, Capricorn, for many of you, as Pluto has left your sign officially, I think that your future goals that you want for yourself have taken a shift. And now you've got to kind of realign with that, because you may also realize that not everyone in your circle and not everyone who's been in your life is meant to come with you to the next level, and that is okay. Because Scorpio is also a Martian-ruled energy. It helps you cut away, surgically remove, and cauterize and release with depth and with grace those that are not coming with you, and embracing those that are. So use this moon time, I think, Capricorn, to just evaluate where you belong, where your energy actually flows, and reinvest yourself in that vision that will match the growth that you want to achieve. Now, on the 20th, we see the sun enter into the vibration of Gemini, lighting up your 6th house space. So this is where, in this mid-month time, your energy starts to turn a little bit more inward, because you're looking at your health habits, your daily routines. It's a time to reorganize, declutter, refine how you spend your everyday energy, right? So if you're feeling inspired, because Gemini is definitely an inspiring kind of energy, you're like, I need to change my schedule around. I need to revamp this workflow. I need to focus more intentionally on my body or my physical or mental wellness, or some kind of practice in my life. This is an ideal time for that, because Gemini is going to bring movement. So what I would say is stay curious, stay flexible. Gemini can be a busybody, so don't overload your plate. Let this season show you that productivity doesn't always have to mean rigidity. It can mean being light and adaptive and still incredibly efficient. 24th, big day. Saturn moves into Aries, lighting up your 4th house space. It's a big one. Okay, it's a big one. Your ruling planet is shifting into Aries. So home, family, real estate, property, your emotional security, all of this is a foundational maturity and resetting for you. Over the next 2.5 years, you're going to be asked to rebuild from the inside out. Now, that could mean that you're redefining your relationship with your family, or something pretty serious is changing in your family, putting you in the position to mature and step up. Maybe you're making a major move, and a major move can just be a major move for you, right? It doesn't mean that it has to be that you're moving country to country. Maybe you're renovating your space. Maybe you're doing deeper inner healing around where you come from and how it shaped you, especially if it is emotionally immature. This transit can feel heavy, but I want to be clear. Saturn is not here to punish. It is here to mature. Walk with Saturn. Don't be drugged, because Saturn will drag you if you choose not to walk. This transit can bring serious real estate stuff to your table. How you caretake things, or your caretaking responsibilities. For some of you, I think you'll find yourself also in the space of some deeper ancestral themes. But for the most part, I think it's all about being in your truest sense of home, not only within yourself, but in your environment as well. On the 25th, we have Mercury now shifting into Gemini, and Mercury joins the sun in the 6th house space. So your energy is motivated, your mind is sharp, you're curious, you're focused on problem solving, and it's all in your daily routine. How do you work? How do you move through the day? What is your wellness routine? And this again is physical and mental routines to help you be healthy. So this is an even more ideal time for organizing things, putting things on automation. What can you automate that you don't need to have your hands on all the time? Gemini is also incredibly curious. So where can you learn something new to improve how you move through your day-to-day life and operations? If you have been, Capricorn, overwhelmed, this transit can help you to streamline and strategize, but you have to remember, Gemini energy is very different than yours. It moves very quickly. So I would encourage you to prioritize clarity over a bunch of multitasking, and give yourself room to process more than one thing at a time. Two things can be absolutely true, but one of them needs your attention more than the other one, okay? As we're going to close out this month, Capricorn, we've got a new moon happening in Gemini, and this is your chance to plant your seeds of intention, a clean slate for how you show up in your daily life, especially when it comes to work, to service, to your body, to your mental health and wellness, to being of service to others. So plant your seeds of intention around having a good work routine, a good health routine, how you are in service of other people without draining yourself. If you've been needing to reset your schedule or upgrade your habits, this is the time. This moon supports what is sustainable and what is intelligent change as well. Just remember, you're building this month a better system, one that actually works for who you are now, not who you drug in here at the beginning of 2025, but who you are today. So Capricorn, listen, you don't need to rush, but you do need to begin. And this is your month to be able to do that. Let me know how it's shaping up for you in the comment section down below, Capricorn. I love you a ton, and I will see you in June. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Aquarian friends, and welcome to your horoscope for May of 2025, where Aquarius may bring such a stunning spotlight directly onto you. Pluto is retrograding through your sign, and that is no small thing. It's personal. It's deeply personal. So there is this shedding of layers of identity and power and presence, and stepping into something more profound and more real. But this is the thing. May isn't all about shadow work, okay? By mid-month, the energy starts to flow into your 5th house of joy and pleasure and play and romance. So you've got a little bit of playful energy to work with this month as well. I just want you to know that. Saturn is going to make that transition into Aries, into your 3rd house. So there's a lot more structure and purpose to your words, how you speak and how you learn. But make no mistake, this month is full visibility. So let's jump in and take a look at what's going on this month for you. Right at the beginning of the month on May 4th, we've got Pluto taking that retrograde in your sign in your 1st house, aka full-on identity deep dive. Okay. Now, Pluto is more like the crock pot. It's a slow cook, right? It's not the grill, no shrimps on the Barbie. It's a crock pot style energy. So this retrograde is not here to destroy you. It's here to slowly warm you up and soften you and reveal you. You're being asked to take a hard and honest look at how you present yourself to the world, right? What you think you are versus what you're actually showing other people. Are you leading in your world with power, or are you leading with fear? Are you still wearing versions of yourselves that helped you to survive, but now it's actually just holding you back? So you might start to feel this shift in this power and this energy and how people are perceiving you, or how you even perceive yourself. If you've been trying to control your image, or you've been trying to shrink your truth so that you can fit in, this retrograde is going to peel that off of you layer by layer by layer and just soften you up crockpot style. Remember, it's an invitation to evolve, but you're evolving out loud, not perfectly, like a human, but really, really truthfully. May 10th brings Mercury into Taurus, lighting up your fourth house space. So as Mercury shifts here into your home, family, real estate, property, emotional foundation space, it's a great time to reflect, to clearly communicate with family or about home matters. Talk to that family member, resolve everything that's been lingering in your financial situation. What's been going on in your personal roots that's kind of rising to the surface? You may find yourself wanting to journal. It's kind of nostalgic, you're wanting to journal about the past or revisit an old family dynamic or an old family home or something like that. Taurus is Venusian, so I wouldn't think it would be past you to be having heartfelt conversations, the kind that create closure. Because Mercury in Taurus, first of all, wants to speak slowly, wants to simplify things, it wants it to have purpose, but more than that, it wants to be honest and grounded in truths. So this is a great time to declutter the home space, whether that be physical or emotional, because you're really wanting to attract safety into your space. Taurus is a Venusian ruled energy. It just attracts in, it does not hustle. Now, if you have not taken the Venus Reset program so that you can really be cued into your own Venus, I would encourage you to check that out and join as well, because the way that you're in touch with your Venus is exactly how you're going to attract things or not. On May 12th, we've got a full moon happening in Scorpio, lighting up your 10th house space. The full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. But this is going to be, and again, a very public space in your career, your reputation, your public image, your soul level calling. It's illuminating something in a very visual and professional path for you. So you might be doing something simple like completing a project, or you could be completing something and you're receiving a lot of recognition for it. Maybe you're feeling a lot more called to release a role or a title that you've held for a very long time, because you're like, that doesn't match for me anymore. Where my spirit is at and where I'm going, it doesn't match. And sometimes this can look like, I don't want to be the CEO of this company anymore. Sometimes it can look like, I don't want to be married anymore. I want to get divorced, or I was divorced before and now I want to be married, right? You could literally change your role. Whatever it is, the full moon is about revealing what's working and what's not working, and for you to shed what's not working and commit to the path of what is, especially when it comes to how the world sees you. So a lot of turning point in what you are seeing is your purpose, I think. One of the questions that I wrote down here to ask you around this full moon, Aquarius, is, are you building something for validation, or are you building something for impact? So answer that question for me in the comment section down below. All right, on the 20th, we have the sun enter into the vibration of Gemini like it does every year at this time. It lights up your 5th house space. And now the energy, it lightens and it brightens, because when the sun moves into your 5th house of joy, pleasure, play, this is an invitation to express yourself, to paint, to write, to dance, to say yes to love, to flirt with life again. You don't have to flirt with other people, flirt with life again. After all of the intensity of the month's beginning, I think that this shift in the month reminds you that it isn't all about deep transformation. It's also about enjoying the process and enjoying the now as well. So whether you're going to be dating, you've got something, a creative project that you're launching, you're rediscovering something you loved as a child, your child is discovering something they love. This is a pure life force kind of energy. So follow what lights you up, okay? On the 24th, Saturn moves into Aries in your third house space. And Saturn's entrance into this space, it is marking a beginning, not only because it's in Aries, but because it's in a new sign. But it's a new era in how you think, how you communicate, how you learn. Over the next 2.5 years, Aquarius, you're going to be asked to refine your mental habits. Upgrade how you speak. Get serious about the words that are coming out of your mouth. For some of you, this could actually be that you're writing a book, you're teaching, you're launching that course, you're making content that you're going to create, or you're taking your content that you're already creating to the next level. But whatever it is, it's going to be built on clarity, and you're going to put in commitment. You're going to do the work with it, okay? Because Saturn wants maturity, it wants expertise. This is an excellent time also to work on setting boundaries in communications. Know when to speak, know when to listen, know when to walk away. Saturn here is that mental and communications maturity coach. So it's less now about being clever and more about being true. And I want to remind you that Saturn here is not here to punish, it's here to help you evolve. On the 25th, now we've got Mercury moving into Gemini, so back into the space of the 5th house, and we've got Mercury joining the sun here. So it adds a little wit, a little humor, a lot of curiosity to everything in this 5th house area. So again, it's time to write, speak, share, perform, take center stage. And again, this could be your children that are doing this as well, or anything around children. If you've been working on a creative idea, green light, start bringing it into the world. Your words have magic and sparkle right now, especially when they're coming from a place of joy and play. So flirt with life, tell stories, connect to your inner child, allow your children to connect with life in a more joyful way. I mean, it's really a time to be in your element and enjoy that magneticness of the energy. Now, you'll have a little bit of help to do this as well, because as we're going to close out the month, we've got a new moon in the same house here. So this is a chance to have a clean slate for all this creativity, all this pleasure, all of this joy, right? Plant your seeds of intention around how you want to be seen. How do you want to create? How do you want to be known for the joy that you bring into the space of other people? What are you ready to say yes to that you're going to say yes to, and it's a kind of joy that you are not going to apologize for? The new moon is the time to plant those seeds of intentions to begin something bold and beautiful and fun, but also really meaningful, because your voice is shifting, your being is shifting. So it's time for the world to hear this next new version, okay? All right, my beautiful Aquarian friends, the next era of you is already underway, so just let it rise. Let me know how the month goes in the comment section down below, and I will see you in June. Hello, my beautiful Pisces friends, and welcome to your horoscope for May of 2025, where Pisces, this month, I was going over your horoscope, and it is a deeply inner month, but it's like quiet on the surface and wildly loud beneath the surface, right? So it's kind of an interesting month. Now we're going to see that Pluto is going to take a retrograde in your 12th house. Then we're going to have a full moon lighting up your 9th house. And this combination of energies for you this month is about release, forgive, and realign. And it's not just mentally. It's energetically and it's spiritually. Okay, we're also going to see that Saturn is going to move into Aries, into your 2nd house. And I like this because this is beginning a long-term journey of building material resources, material worth, energetic sovereignty, true value inside and out. And I love all of that for you. So let's walk through what is opening up for you as we're looking at May. On the 4th, right at the beginning of the month, we see Pluto stepping into that retrograde in the 12th house space. Now, in the 12th house, this is the most hidden and like mythical portion of your chart. It's really deep soul territory because nobody just gets to come in and out of your 12th house. You have to invite it in. But it's also the place that when you invite people into this delicious behind the scenes vulnerability, you feel like it lets you out, like it actually creates a spiritual freedom for you. So it may feel like this month that as you're going in, you're kind of being pulled into your own energetic underworld a little bit, or the things that are just behind the scenes. Now, some of the things when we're dealing with Pluto is that things have to die off so that something else can live. So old fears, limiting beliefs. For some of you, you will be very much so in touch with those ancestral patterns. But I think that too, at a more surface level, there's some exhaustion, even if it's spiritual exhaustion, this could even be surfacing at this point. Now, I want to point out that Pluto's retrograde here, the work that you're doing right now, it's not about punishment. None of the planets work at the vibration of just punishing you for, being you. This is just more about purging. You're clearing space for a deeper version of you. And it's not a deeper version of you, really. I think it's a deeper version of your spiritual power, right? It's an extension of it. So if you feel a little bit more drawn to solitude, that's okay. Sleep, journal, write, dream work. Now, Pluto works below the surface. It's more of like the crock pot in the kitchen, okay? It's a slow warm up. It's a slow cook. It bakes you down till you get nice and soft and you turn into a delicious stew. It's not on the grill. So you're going to have months to be paying attention to this. Pay attention to the subtle messages that are starting to arrive to you when you're quiet. Starting to pay a lot more attention to the synchronicities, because this is Pluto whispering to you what needs to be released. Let it go, let it dissolve. You don't have to carry what no longer belongs to you. On the 10th, we're going to see Mercury enter into Taurus, and it's an earth energy, so you work very well with this energy. Now, this for you is going to light up your third house space. Mercury entering this space of communication, learning, mental patterns, things having to do with siblings. This brings a grounding energy. It brings a lot more clarity to your thoughts, something that you've likely been craving. You know what I mean? You're like, I love all of these emotional deep dives. This is so fun, but is there any ground to be stood on down here? So that may be something that you're really enjoying here in the early May energy. It's a great time for focused writing. It's a great time for having that slow cooking, meaningful conversation. Taurus is that earthy, grounded energy, receiving conversation back to you, right? Like letting people receive your essence. That's Taurus, ruled by Venus, receive. Or maybe you're returning to some kind of learning path or course or something that you wanted to study before. Now, I do want to point this out to you. Pisces, if you are not signed up for the Venus Reset program, if you haven't taken the program yet, I would highly encourage you to do so. It's about getting you connected to your Venus, to receiving. If you're having trouble with this, if you're having trouble around self-worth, if you feel like you're blocked in your ease and your sensuality, that's what this program is built for. And with all this Taurian energy going around, come on and tap in with us. But if you have been wanting to write, to teach, to launch a product, a content, this is your window here with Mercury and Taurus to go ahead and build that outline and start speaking it out, start getting it clearly mapped out, okay? So it's also, Pisces, a really good time to turn down the inner critic. Replace it with something kinder, a lot more constructive talk. Taurus energy and Mercury here, they want peace in your mind, less stress, and you get to create it. All right, here on the 12th, we've got the full moon happening in Scorpio, lighting up your 9th house space. Now, the full moon is asking us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. But to what? To your 9th house, which is publishing, marketing, broadcasting, faith, philosophy, long-range travel. Something about what you believe, in quotes, or how you have viewed the world is kind of coming full circle at this time. So maybe you completed a course. Maybe you're really coming to terms with and feeling that there's a spiritual chapter in your life that is ending. Or you realize that a long-term faith or belief that you have no longer fits who you are today and who you're becoming. This moon is an invitation for you to expand and have a different world view. But first, you have to release outdated truths And they're the ones that have quietly shaped your path. There's been power in having these beliefs, and there's just no power left in them anymore. So you might also feel yourself, because of this, feeling a strong pull towards traveling someplace. Even if it's just the local bakery down the street, you're like, I don't know why, but I need to go in here. And follow that. I would follow that. If it comes to travel, publishing, mentorship, any of those kinds of things, if you've been holding back from sharing your story or trusting another person to walk with you, this is going to be the moon that helps you see it's time to let the moment rise, okay? On the 20th, we're going to see the sun moves into Gemini, lighting up your 4th house space. Now, the sun here brings light, heat, life, and vitality, so you are motivated, okay? This place has energy. And it's a light energy. It's bringing a beautiful light energy to your home, to your family, to whatever you've got going on around your emotional foundations. So this is your cue to slow down and tend to the roots, but it doesn't have to be at the depths of your soul. Maybe you just want to clean and redecorate. You want to move. You want to just reconnect with what makes you feel safe and feel held. Or even in your home, you're examining things like contracts, emotional or mental rhythms, or little entanglements that show up in your house. Just bring some music into your life and see what rises up from underneath the surface, that it just took a little bit of play and a little bit of lightness to bring it to the open, right? Let this season of the sun being in Gemini, which it happens here every year at this time, let it be cozy, let it be clarifying. You don't have to hustle. You're allowed to nest and just enjoy your space, put on some jams, think about what you think about your own home, and talk about those things. Be nostalgic if that's even what comes up for you. May 24th, we see Saturn moving into Aries, lighting up your 2nd house, and this is a major new cycle, because as it enters your money house, your value house, your house of self-worth, this transit is about restructuring your relationship with abundance, restructuring your relationship with security and your own intrinsic value, not having to do or produce anything. What do you believe, honest to God, in your depth of your being? What do you believe your value is, even without having to produce a single thing? Over the next 2.5 years, you're going to be asked to get really serious about what you're building financially, emotionally, energetically. You may start budgeting differently. Maybe you're creating more boundaries around your time and your labor. You're raising those prices. Maybe you are realizing that you've been playing a little bit small, or you've been scattered, and it is time to whittle it down to the one thing and actually build that thing. This transit, though, isn't just about money. It's about sovereignty. So Saturn here essentially asks you the question, what do you really want to be known for? What do you really want to be paid for, right? Like, what do you have mastery over to offer this world? And if you're willing to do the deep work and walk with Saturn, you're going to find what you want to do, and that you have what it takes to make it sustainable. Now, I will just say this too. Saturn can feel heavy. It can make you feel doubtful. Saturn is brilliant to walk with, because as you walk with Saturn, it brings you to this new level of maturity. You are rewarded. You see the benefits. Don't put yourself in a position where Saturn is having to drag you because you don't want to walk. It's rough. It's bumpy. It's not as fun. Okay, so if you're feeling that doubt creep in, especially around money or financial things, bring in some content into your life about people who are more successful in that area, and they're talking about how you can be as well. There is no need to be drugged by Saturn if you don't have to be. All right, on the 25th, we see Mercury now entering into Gemini, joining the sun in this 4th house. So making that home, property, real estate, family energy a lot more conversational, a lot more active, a lot more dynamic, and important. This is a time for reconnecting with your family. Reconnect with those people you say you love. Okay, tell those family stories. Make plans related to your living space, how you live. It is a home energy. So it's a transit that I think can support some internal reflection, writing, journaling, writing letters that you maybe will send, some you probably won't. If you've got some resentment creeping up, naming that feeling that's been buried for a while. Whatever it is, this transit is good at helping you find language for things that once felt unspeakable. Gemini energy wants movement. Even in your inner world, even in your home, energy wants to be moving. It does not want to be stagnant. So start small, say what you need to say it with your chest out, and let the healing begin. Now, you're going to get a little bit of help because on May 26th, we've got a new moon happening in Gemini. So we close out the month with that new moon here. And it's a full emotional and spiritual reset in this area: home, security, self-care, your past, right? This is your chance to plant the seeds of intention for how you want to feel in your home, in the deepest level of your foundational beings. How do you want to feel? Whether that means you're actually moving because you want to feel safe in your home, you're building new boundaries with family members because you want to feel sovereign in your own energy, or you're creating a sacred space in your own life that's supporting your growing. That's your moon. And it's this moon saying, start fresh. Start here, start now. So let yourself feel what it feels like for you to be comfortable and in alignment. Let safety be sacred to you. And let home feel like home again. And if home has never felt like home to you, decide what home feels like and let's build that, okay? All right, my beautiful Pisces friends, this month isn't loud, but it is the kind of month that I think does a lot to help you change your life. So let me know how it's going in the comment section down below, Pisces. I love you, and I will see you in June.